Continuing then with Finnegans Wake, we're on Book 3, Chapter 3. Lowly, longly a wail went forth. Pure Yawn lay low. On the mead of the hillock lay, heart-soul dormant, mid-shadowed landscape, brief wallet to his side, and arm loose, by his staff of citron briar, tradition's stick pass on. His dream monologue was over, of cause, but his drama parapolylogic had yet to be a fact. Most distressfully, but my dear, how successfully, too well he did. His locks of a lucan tinge, quick, rich, ripely rippling, unfilleted, those lash-betasseled lids on the verge of closing time, whilst owls of his sidewise open mouth, the breath of him, even so languishing as the princeliest treble treacle or litchi chew-chow purse could buy. Yawn in a semi-swoon lay a-wailing, and what helpings of honeyful swooth-head, phew, which ear-piercing docitude! As were you supposed to go and push with your blunt blank pin in hand up into his flesh as plush cushionettes of some chubby boy-bowed love of an angel. Whoa! When, as the buzzer brings the light brigade, keeping the home fires burning, so on the churring call themselves came at him, from the west borders of the East Midlands, 3 kings of 3 suits and a crowner, from all their cardinal parts, along the amber way where Brasna's furzy. To lift them they did, senators 4, by the first quaint skreek of the gloaming, and they hopped it up the mountainy molehill, traversing climbs of old times gone by, of the days not worth remembering, inventing some excuse to them's any sort, having a 7-ply sweat of night blues moist upon them, fee, fo, fortha, agala, chi, palula, dimini. Afeard themselves were to wonder at the class of a crossroads puzzler he would likely be, length by breadth nonplussing his thickness, ells upon ells of him, making so many square yards of him, one half of him in Con's half, but the whole of him nevertheless in Owen Moore's 5 quarters. There would he lay till they would descry, spancelled down upon the blossomy bed, at one foul stretch, amongst the daffy-down dillies, the flowers of narcosis forefettering his footlights, a halo hedge of wild spuds hovering over him, epicures waltzing with garden fillers, Puritan shoots advancing to Aaron chiefs, fo, the meteor pope of him, the seamless rainbow peal, agala, his belly void of nebulos with his never-stopped navel, palula, and his veins shooting melanite phosphor, his cream to custard comet hair, and his asteroid knuckles, ribs, and members, dimini, his electro-latiginous twisted entrails belt. Those 4 claymen clomb together to hold their sworn star chamber query on him, for he was ever their quarrel, the way they would see themselves, every bug his bodiment atop of any walm her notion, and the meat of their nocht was worth 2 of his morning. Up to the Esker ridge it was, Mallinger Paris, to a mead that was not far for the sun's rest. First clattered Shanator Gregory, seeking spore through the deep time field, Shanator Lyons, trailing the wavy line of his partition footsteps. Something in his blisters was telling him all along how he had been in that place one time. Then his recordership, Dr. Shunadur Tarpey, caper-chasing after honourable sleep, hot on to the aniseed, and, up out of his prompt corner, old Shunny McShunny, MacDougall the hiker, in the rear of them on the run, to make a quorum. Roping their ass he was, their sky-grey globe-trotter, by way of an afterthought, and by no means legless either, for such sprouts on him they were that much uneven it was, tumbling he was by 4 lengths, within the ball of a musket, cuss yus, cuss clay, patsy watsy, like the caper in the cabbaces, the big ass, to hear with his unaided ears the harp in the air, the bugle dyna-blowing, wild as wild, the mockingbird whose word is misfortune, so 'tis said, the bulbul down the wind. The proto was traipsing through the tango then, Matthew Walker, Godson's goddess far, deputizing for gossipocracy, and his station was a few perch to the weather side of the Knoll Asnock, and it was from no other place unless there, how and ever, that he proxtended aloof upon the aether mesmer's manuum, the hand-making silence. The buckos beyond the lee then stopped wheresoever they found their standings, and that way they set ward about him, doing obedience, nod, bend, bow, and curtsy, like the watchers of prospect, upholding their broad-awake probers' hats on their firm heads, the travelling court on its findings circuiting that personer in his fallen. And the crack quatuor of stenogers they made of themselves, solons and sophomores, all told, with their hurts and daemons, spites and clops, not even to the seclusion of their beast by them. That was the odd trick of the pack, Trump, and no friend of carrots. And what do you think? Who should be laying there above all other persons forenenst them only Yawn? All of a sprawl he was laying too amongst the poppies, and I can tell you something more than that, drear writer, profoundly as you may believe to it. He was asleep, and it was far more similar to a satrap. He lay there with unctuous beauty all surrounded, the poser, or for what all I know, like Lord Lumen, coaching his preferred constellations in faith and doctrine. For old Matt Gregory, 'tis he had the star menagerie, Marcus Lyons and Lucas Metcalf Tarpey, and the Mac that never forgave the ass that lurked behind him, Johnny MacDougall. More than their good share of their 5 senses ensorcelled, you would say themselves were, fuming censor, the way they could not rightly tell their heels from their stools as they couched down a Mamalujo by his cubicle crib, as question time drew nighing, and the map of the soul's groupography rose in relief within their quarterings, to play tops or kites or hoops or marbles, churchy, gawking on him for the issuance of his noom, and soft-noising, one of them to another one, the bog-quaquisters. And it was what they began to say to him tetrahedrally then, the masters. What way was he? He's giving the wee bairn, Yawn has lived. Yera, why that, my leader? Wisha, is he boast or what, Alana? Or his winds from the wrong cut, says Ned of the Hill. Listen, why so and speak up? Do you hear me, you sir? Or he's rehearsing someone's funeral? Wish that. Hobbes up. And as they were spreading abroad on their octopods, their drifter nets, the chromous gleamy seiner's nets, and no lie, there was word of assonance being soft-spoken among those quartermasters. Get busy, kid. Chirpy, come now. The present hospices is a good time. I'll take on that chap. For it was in the back of their mind's ear, temptive lissummer, how they would be spreading in quadrilibero their azure-spotted fine attractable nets, their Nansen nets, from Matt Senior to the terrible Mr. Gog after him, and from thence to the neighbour, and that way to the Puisney donkey man in his crucifer's car. And in their minds years back sleepless, also it was, slipping beauty, how they would be meshing that way when he rose to it, with the plankton at play about him, the quivers of scaly silver in their clutches of chromes, of the highly lucid Spanishing gold, whilst, as hour gave way to mazing hour, with Yawn himself keeping time with his trip tongue, To ope his blurbiest lips he would, a let out classy, the way myrrh of the moor in molten moon mist would be melding melly found in dough his mouth. Before you. Echo, how sweet the answer makes. After where's? In the land of Dying's order. Friends, first, if you don't mind, name your historical grounds. The same prehistoric barrow, 'tis the orangery. I see, very good now. It is in your orangery, I take it, you have your letters. Can you hear me, you sir? Thousands for my darling Tippet. So long aforetime, can you hear better? Millions for God sends, for my darling, dearling one. Now to come nearer own, I would like to raise my deuterous point audibly touching this. There is this Maggers. I am told by our interpreter, Han or Esthers, that there are fully 606 rag words in your male herbal magis language, in which wand rhymes upman, and there is resin in all roots for monarch, but yav has not one pronounceable term that blows in all the vallums of Taralot to signify majestate, even provisionally, nor no rada rhoda or torpentine path, or hallucinian via, nor Aurelian gape, nor sunken rut, nor gross ground trek, nor crime-slaved crook's way, and no more hen's cry or mooner's plank gang there to lead us to hope in haven. It is such the only derivator case matter messio, frankly, magis megis enteretur minus hoc intelligao. How? Se mal prononciable, Tartagliano, per Francis. Vous n'avez pas dans votre bouche provinciale musu. Je m'incline, moi j'ai trouvé le clé dans les champs. I shall not potty velour, come on. Hep there, come on. So n'a pas de velour. Who's that dans your jams? What's that inclining and talking about the Messiah so clover? A truce to your trifling. Who are you? Trinithan Patrick the Aldeny. Have you seen her? Tipat, my tactile o. Are you in your fatherlick, lonely one? The same, 3 persons. Have you seen my darling only one? I am so old. What are you shivering about, ultramontane, like a hound? Is there a code on you, Doraphobian? Or do you want your prima facie school, ma'am? The woods of Fogloot, oh, Miss Padridges. Wish the wild grey leg, the duck is rising in your wake, the stand of plover. I know that place better than anyone. Sure, I used to be always over there on the 4th day at my grandmother's place, Tirnan Ogre, my little grey home in the west, in or about Mayo, when the long dog gave tongue, and they coursing the marches, and they straining at the leash, tortoise shell for a guinea gold, burb, 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 follow me up to curl you. That's the place for the Clare oysters, Pollydoody, County Conway. I never knew how rich I was, like another story in the Zoedone of the Zephyros, strolling and strolling, carrying my dragoman, Mead's marvel, thus with unpronounceable tale, along the shore. Do you know my cousin, Mr. Jasper Dougal, that keeps the anchor on the mountain, the parson's son, Jasper of the Tons, Pat, whatever your name is? Dude, and I dude, the wolves of Folkloot, by who, why do you call me? Do you not flingamajig to the wolves? Turca fiera, I'm the good one right enough. Wolves, no less. One moment now, if I have foreshortened the blast on your blether. Encroachment spells erosion. Dunlin and turnstone auguras where, how and when best as to the burial of carcass, fuselage of dump and committal of nuisance. But, since you invocate osters for the trailing of vixens, I would like to send a cormorant around this blue lagoon. Tell me now this. You told my learned friend rather previously, a moment since, about this mound or barrow. Now I suggest to you that ere there was this plague burrow, as you seem to call it, there was a burial battle, the boat of millions of years. Would you bear me out in that, relatively speaking, with her jackstaff jerking at her penny ladders? Why not, and sizing a fair sail, knowest thou the kind? The Porquapa, bound for Weiss to Wassland, that four-master barkentine, Webster says, our ship that ne'er returned. The Frenchman, I say, was an orange boat. He is a boat. You see him. The boat how you see is they, Draken of Denmark, sacked it or ate it. What? And who spake out loud? Couch Cortaz ring barrow Dunkern, beseek the runes and see the longern. I'll moan away when you hear the gang horn, and meet naught in S.S.O.S. warm night. Conning to les pays, North circle. Her raven flag was out, the slaver. I trow upon good Jordan scaper, good Barnet and trusty man. Crouch low, you pigeons three. Say, call that girl with the tan tress on. Call, wolfhound, wolf of the sea, Folku, Folku. Very good now. That folklore straight from the ass's mouth. I will crusade on it with the parent ship. Weather profiting, far away from those green hills a station, Ireton tells me, bona fide for keel tappers, now to comb to the midnight middy on this Levantine ponenter. From Daneland sailed the ox-eyed man, now mark well what I say. Magnus Spadebeard, Corset's crosser, Welsher perfidie, a destroyer in our port, signed to me with his bawling scoop, laid bare his breastpaps to give to suckle me, Eche hagios Christman. Oh, Jesus, fluid, says the poisoned well. Fought fishy the first, hoot chopper's ankle at the naval manoeuvres. Hello there, Bill of Old Belly. Who's he? Who's this lad? Why the pups? Hunkeless children Easter held. It's his lost chance, Amania. Wear him well. Hey, did you dream you were eating your own tripe, Akushla, that would hide yourself up that rinicky fix? I see now. We move in the beast circles. Grimbarb and Panzercruiser. You took the words out of my mouth. A child's dread for a dragon vice, father. Hill, cloud, encompass us. You mean you lived as milky at the Elysium, coward, while you learned rope, to howl yourself wolf-wise, dib, do your best. I am doubling like the old booths, courteous. The cubs are after me at Zebes, the whole totem pack. Vuk to them for Robinson's shield. Sense and Gospels, the animal jangs again. Find the Fingal Harriers here now, me wiseacre's hat till I die of the milkman's lupus. What? Wolfgang? Whoa? Talk very slow. Hail him heathen, heal him holy stone. Courser, change child, eld as end all, earth. A cataleptic mythophalic, was this totem fulcrum est, ancestor you hauled in dies irae, where no spider webbeth, or anno mundi, ere bawds plied in skiff straight? Be fair, Chris, dream. On a non day I sleep, I dreamt of a psalm day, of a one day I shall wake. Ah, may he have now of here fear filled me, sin-flawed, oh sin-flawed, fia, be firkt Christ. I have your tristich now, It recurs in 3 times the same differently. There is such a fui story which obtains of him, calming now from the asphalt to the concrete, from the human historic brute, Finn Sin Féinian, Ossian acclived, to this same voganized hill surf from yours, Mr. Toppling town of morning the heights, with his lavish flow and his rambling undergrounds. Would he reoccur ad horum, as old Romeo Rogers, in city or county, and your shore ob or by, with or from an herb of you know the differentiabus, as Brauchbard in Apabramsa Sierra, we speak of gun the farther, and in the locative, bap, bap. Our tad, Herrick Babao, whom certain orbits a certain ray hum place of chivitats aye, Smithwick, Ronda Caledon, Salem, Mass, Childers, Argos, and Duthlis. Well, I am advised he might in a sense be both, nevertheless. Every man like myself suffix it to say, Abrahamskin Brookbear. By him it was done, Babka, by me it was gone into, to whom it will be blithe. Mushame. I am afraid you could not heave a whore one of your old stepstones, barn, over a stumble-down wall here in Huddlestown to this classic Noctuber night, but it and they would binge, much as Vicious off the Doss House, back of a race rider in his truth to flesh colours, either handicapped on her flat or barely repeating himself. That is a Timody Fahar now, the man I go in fear of, Tommy Terracotta, and he could be all your in my Daz, the broder of the founder of the father of the finder of the fander of the funder of the first man in Ronnie Loch, fwe, Petries and Violet Ice. I am Yam as me and Tam Tower used to Jagger, Penmerit, over at the house of Eddie's Christie, meaning Dodge father, Dodge son, and coo, and spiriduous sanction. Breathe softly, auries are aureas. How's his known? Midas has or riles, piercy. White eyelashes and muddy horse broth, pig purse O'Reilly. But where do we get off, Chiseler? Heart steel, Lucas and Dublin. Vulva. MacDougall, Atlantic City, or his anagrass that is, Chowman Coffin. I would go near identifying you from your staff rotatides, John of Mayho, and the Weslarias round your Yokoho hat, and that old Mullen Conry Pluker you have, from the worst cursed of Ireland, Glilbrid of the Mugdwa group, is no use to you either. Johnny, my donkey shot. Number 4, fix up your spread eagle and pull your weight. Whoosh and hom to our regionals hin and the gander of Hayden. Would ye ken a young step schooler of psychical choreography, the name of Kevin, our let outers pray, Evan Vaughan, of his post horn in the High Street, that was shooing a guinea gagag, pool upon pinter, that found argument number 1, I would suggest, an illegible down-foamed by an uneligible. If I do know scented sageness, sometimes he would keep silent for a few minutes as if in prayer, and clasp his forehead, and during the time he would be thinking to himself, and he would not mind anybody who would be talking to him or crying stinking fish. But I no way need you stroke or nor your quick handles. You're too far a cock of the north there, Matty Armagh, and you're due south so. South I see, you're up in Lil Ulster, and I'm free down in East. This is much better. He is cured by faith who is sick of fate. The prouts who will invent a writing there ultimately is the poeta, still more learned, who discovered the rating there originally. That's the point of eschatology in our book of kills reaches for now and so, many counterpoint words. What can't be coded can be decoded if an ear eye sees what no eye e'er grieved for. Now the doctrine obtains. We have occasioning cause causing effects that effects occasionally recausing alter effects. Or I will let me take it upon myself to suggest to twist the penman's tale posterwise. The gist is the gist of Shaun, but the hand is the hand of Samius. Shan, Shim, Shun. There is a strong suspicion on counterfeit Kevin, and we all remember ye in childhood's reverie. 'Tis the bells of scandal that gave tune to grumble over him and someone between me and thee. He would preach to the two turkeys and dip all the Dindians, this master the abbey, and give gold tidings to all that are in the Bronze Age, and anti-pro-resurrectionism to entrust their Eastern appearance to Borsaiolini's house of hatcraft. He is our scent on the firm. Now, have you reasonable hesitancy in your mind about him after 4 priests read mass, or are you in your post? Tell me, and that sans dismay. Leap, pard. Fire apple putting years on me. No. This bolt in me in hand be my worder. I'll see you move farther, blarneying Mercantonio. What can such wretch to say to I, or how have my to doom with him? We were womeful in mischief, and initium-wise, ever liking alike, hairy top and heel tipper. Alpy Becca's unwashables, and Ixen am Ixen, that babe imprincipially, my leopard brethren, the pure, ends in osens of but 15 primes. Ye all in your calblionized, so trilustriously standing the real school, to be upright as his match, healthiest as his egg, saviour to the salt and good wee broad, paralleling butter, did I automobile him to a flare inciting hog's fat? Been like hin's kindergarten? I know not, O Cashle. I am sure oft habitan this undered heaven mice infants, contrasting the first mover, that father I ascend from knows, as I think, caused whom I, a self the sign, came remaining being dwelling ire plague in Watford as I was altered in postulance possessing my future state, falling towards thrice myself, resting the child hide when I received the habit following Mesienius, connecting Mesosius, including was verted embracing a palagrim, circumcised my hairs, loud, and removes my clothes from parasitic motives, meus minimus culpats, permitting this ickle coon, crouched low, entering humble down, dead through, mean, scatological past, making so smell, partaking myself to confess, abiding clean, tumble upon use octopods, mouth speech, all no finger force, owning my mansuetude before him, attaching audience prostrating wards, mine sore accompanying, my thrain trops offering, my eye sought. What I, the person whom in I now am, did not do, how he to say essid anding, how he was making errand and an anding, how he was locutely sunt. Why did you, my sex best friend, blabber always you would be so delighted to back me, then erst dreadant, toppling Humphrey hogging nephew, old beggarlout, designing such posts sitting in his night office, annexing then, producing Saint Mammalulius. You snub around, enclosing your moving motion, touching the other catechumens, continuing, say, providing a pend of signature quonium. You will celebrand my dirtdag's quonium, conceal the concealer. I am two sides uppish, a mock-belief insolent, ending none mere hyber Irish. Well, chunk your dim chink before Av the Kine town. For as much as many have token in hand to, I may be well humbly correct that Vespian now in case of temporalities. I've my pockets full complay of you lay created cardinals, up rinse, up rowler, up rancer, up rowdy, improperial. I saved you 4 of the Heckites, and you loosed me hind bland Harry to the burg moat of Audiobook. I teach it you in fair game, my elders, the WXYZ and PQRS of legatine powers, and you, Alibi and Chiar Declan, I learn, episcoping me altogether, circumditioned me. I brought you from the loops of Lazary, and you have remembered my lapsus langways. Washi watchy wata she, ora se she ora booja buku chibum, wata kushi lat, mind of poison is, what time think, honorific remembrance to spit humble makes. My ruddy decanal caste is a cut above you peregrines. I vouch you to Romanescu. See the leave-hour of my generations. Has not my master Theophrastus Pneurmaticus written that the spirit is from the upper circle? I'm of the ochlocracy with Prestifer Palumbus and Purvis Pario. Soa Coa Kelly Terry Percelli Derry Leposet. Ho look at my jail brand exquisite sequentias high marked on me facsimiliar in the foreign of Papagalus and Pumpus Mugnus. Ahem, Anglicy, egg squallfish lean you none feed mercurius. Sagrican self-loud kneel obstinate to Roman Catholics patrician mourning coat of arms with my high tribe peniferi cresta and cord or mottoms, each dean, which gaspy atto and sour, he renders echo stay so, addressing eat or not eat, body yours am, and mine praise God, is the first praise no ego name yard heard boysy in moi bogs domesday. Hasten the vista, or in Aleman, succat. Suck at yourself, sugar stick. Misha, you'd think whose was asking to look at your sore toe, or to taste your gaspy, hot and sour, ichthian, heg that tosser, Gagsby plebst, between his voice and her consonantes, Thog Dirk and Hacker with Rose Lancaster and Blanche York. Are we speeching Danglis language, or are you spraking si Deutsch? Oh, soy, blazy, where to go is knowing me remain. Become quantity that discourse bothersome, when what do? Knowing remain, come back, Barry Riley, to bully Dame Stuff. Come him, Buddy Rowley, with me. What about your threepenny croucher of an old fellow, me boy, through the ages, tell us, eh? What about Brian's the Von Tanton Liem, master monk, eh? Spira in me domino, spear me doin, fat prize the bona fide peach and pigeon lover, eh? Esquire Earwogs, excusado of Jenkins area, with his ivy under his tang and the ho-hallow to his dullophone, before there was a sound in the world. How big was his boost friend, and be shanghaied to him, the swabber, the twicer, trifold, in Wang Shang, and in Wanstable. Louds curse to him, if you hoard him outerly as we harem labyrinthly. From morning rise till nightmare, with his drums and bones and hums and drones, your inner eared hearly hear ye. Ho ha he hong. Sing, sing. Me no angly mo, Me speaky Yelman's lingus. Nicey dark Mr. Low, please. Me no piggy loody mints all same number one topside tell my story fella. Me piggy savvy sing a song another time. Please he Mr. Loki. Walkie, joss a damn cowbelly man belong him. Shipple a meal a malong. Begola jack in a boss belong a she. Plenty much boo-hoo-hoo meal. Hell's Confucium and the elements. Moo-hooch. Thoughts never the postal cleric checking chin chat with nippers. Pooh, with nippers. Hot there sob story to your lambad's tale, lambdad's tale. Are you Roman Catholic, 432? Quadrig my yoke, triple my tryst, tandem my sire. History as hers harps, to the tune of your old Frau lied of. Tantris, hat-trick, tryst and parting, by vowel glide. I feel your thrill joy mouths overt speaking, O dragoman. Hands under studium, plunger words what paddle verbs. Mere man's mime, God has jest. The old order changeth and the last like the first. Every third man has a chink in his conscience, and every other woman has a jape in her mind. Now fix on the little fellow in my eye, minutius mandrake, and follow my little psycho-sinology, poor armour and sling-slang. Now I, the Lord of Tutu, am plating that initial T square of burial jade upright to your temple a moment. Do you see anything, Templar? I see a black-fringed pastry cook who is carrying on his brain-pan a cathedral of love jelly for his tiens. How he is like somebody's. A pious person. What sound of Tristras I souls my ear. I horizont the same, this serp with ram's head, and lay it lightly to your lip a little. What do you feel, lip love? I feel a fine lady, floating on a still stream of Isis glass, with gold hair to the bed, and white arms to the twinklers. Oh la la, purely, in a pure manner, oh say but swift and still a vain essaying. Troth today, trend tomorrow. I invert the initial of your tripartite and sign it sternly, and adds the girdle on your breast. What do you hear, breastplate? I hear of a hopper behind the door, slapping his feet in a pool of bran. Bellax, acting like a bellax. And so the triptych vision passes, out of a hillside into a hillside. Fair she fading. Again am I deliciated by the picaresqueness of your ermages. Now the onair or urge, iter impellent. I feel called upon to ask, did it ever occur to you, qua you, prior to this, by a stretch of your hyperborealic imagination, when it's quicker than this quacking that you might, bar accidents, be very largely substituted in potential secession from your next life by a complementary character, voices apart. Up, Jack, I shudder for your thought. Think, put from your mind that, and take on trust this. The next word depends on your answer. I'm thinking too, Thogged be thanked. I was just trying to think when I thought I felt a flea. I might have. I cannot say, for it is of no significance at all. Once or twice when I was in Odenburg in my Adolfos, Jake Jones and the hand scabby, when I thinkled I wore trying on my garden substitute, boys apart, at my next words, neighbours, and maybe more largely, nor you quash, yet you, messmate, realize. A few times, so to shape, I chanced to be stretching in the shadow as I thought, the liferite of myself in my auriculus imaginating. I felt feeling a half-Scotch and pottage like round my middle aging, like Bewley in the baste, so that I indicate out to myself, and I swear my
Gods, how that I'm not myself at all. No jolly fear, when I realize by myself how becomingly I to be going to become. Oh, is that the way with you, you crathur? In the becoming was the weird want not. Hood maketh no frere, hood maketh not frere. The voice is the voice of Jacob, I fear. Are you imitation Roma now, or Amor now? You have all our empathies, eh, Mr. Trickpat? If you don't mind, that is, aside from sings and mush. Answering to my straight question. God save the monk! I won't mind this is, answering to your strict cross-squeets, whereas it would be as unethical for me now to answer as it would have been nonsensical for you then not to have asked. Same no can, home no will, gangin I am, gang is mine and I will return. Out of my name you call me Leelander, but in my shelter you'll miss me. When Lappak walks backwards, he's darkest horse in capus, capillus suit. You knew me once, but you won't know me twice. I am simpliciter arduous, ours of the shoe, 3 days child in loving and thieving. My child, know this. Some portion of that answer appears to have been tokened by you from the writings of Saint Synodius, that first liar. Let us hear, therefore, as you honour and obey the Queen, whither the indwellingness of that which shamifieth be entwined of one or atoned of two. Let us hear, art simplicissimi, simplicissimi. Dearly beloved brethren, Bruno and Nola, laymen, bog holders, and stationary life partners off Orangery, St. Nassau Street, were explaining it at Avicenda's all round each other ere yester week, out of Ibbensen and Ipenzush. When him upon Nola Bruno monopolizes his ego Bruno, most unwillingly says by the mortal powers, alia Nola equal and opposite Brunio ipso, id est. Eternally provoking alio opposite equally as provoked as Bruno, as being eternally opposed by Nola. Pur omnibus singolo singulierum, so is he. One might hear in there beyond that lion roar in the air again, the zoo-hoo-hoom of villain make call. Bruin goes to noble aver who is. If it itzen, or you mean Nolans but Volans, and alibi, do you multimalis, suffering unegoistically from the singular but positively enjoying on the plural? Testify that soul, you breather. Remember, blither, thou must lie. Oh yes. I never dreamt of being a postman, but I mean in Australian someplace, most deeply beloved. My Alaboy brother, negoist cabler of this city, whom 'tis better ne'er to name, my said brother, the skip god, exposed for looking at the churches from behind, who is sender of the Hollow Eve cenograph in prose, and worse every Alzo's night. Hi, Brazil, Brandon's deferred, midden Erse, Clare language, not 9, ass, dublayer, per neuropaths, punk. Starving today, plays punk opening tomorrow, 2 plays punk wire, splosh how, 2 plays punk cabler. Have you forgotten poor Albie Sobrino's Geoff, you blighter, identifiable by the necessary white patch on his rear? How he went to his swilter's land after his lungs, my sad late brother, before his coglionio expansion. Won't you join me in a small Hail Mary, a bottle of the best, for well-met capeller, ununited Irishman, what though preferring the stranger? The coughs and the itches and the minis and the ratties, the opulos and bilgenses. For of his was the patriots mistaken, the heart that was our Graw McGree. Yet be there some who mourn him, concluding him dead, and more there be that wait a stand. His folks up the stairs and the ladgers in his hairs. He ought to win that VVC, full grapes for an end-upper, half moxie on his hoe. Would he were even among the lost, from ours bereft beyond belongs. Orimus poor fraternibus, that he may yet escape the gallows, and still remain our faithfully departed. I wronged you. I never want to see more of bad men, but I want to learn from any on the arse, like Tass with much thanks. Here's ditto, if he lives same place in the antipathies of Austrasia, or anywhere, with my fongest on his hoosh money, safe and damned, or has hopped it to who can throw any lime on the sopjack, my fond foster, albeit Nolan, the workings NSW, his condition off the venerable Jerry built, not belonging to these parts, who, I remember ham to me, when we were like bro and sis over our castor and porridge, with his Roman, I suppose, expecting for his Clarings negus a teetotum abstainer. He feels he ought to be ashamed of me he fears he ought to be as ashamed of me as me to be ashunned of him. We were in one class of age, like two clots of egg. I am most beholding to him, my namesake, as we said it in our Amharican, through the doubly telewisher, out past hearts wag short per times, worn down shoes upon his feet, to whose redress no tongue can tell, in his hands a boot. Spare me, do, a copper or two, and happy I'll hope you'll be. It will please me behind with thanks from before, and love to self, and all I remain here your truly friend. I am no scholar, but I love that man who has apricot lops with a moonshine in his profile, my shamblable, my frere. I call you my half-brother because you, in your soberer, autonomic moment, remind me deeply of my natural say when brothel and feed, hop and jollity. S.H. Devitt, that benighted iris maimed, who is tearly belaboured by Sydney and Alabany. As you sing it, it's a study, that letter self-penned to one's other, the never perfect, ever planned. This non-day diary, this all-night's newsery reel. My dear sir, in this wireless age, any owl rooster can peck up bastoons. But who waxed he so anguished? Was he vector victored or victim vexed? Mighty sure, way for his vehicle. A perambulator ram into his bag small when he was reading aloud with two acolytes, and he's been failing of that kink in his arts over since. Madonna and child, idealist leading a double life, but who for the brilliance of brothers is the Nolan as apparent nominally? Mr. Nolan is pronominally Mr. Gottgab. I get it. By hearing his thing about the person, one begins to place him for a certain and true. Eureka, he stands pat for you before a direct object in the feminine. I see. My maiden's name. Now I am earnestly asking you, and putting it as between this yo-ho and that homonym, will you just search through your gab-gut memoirs for all of 2 minutes for this impersonating pronolan, fair head on foul shoulders? Would it be in twofold truth and untaken mispatriot, fully true and really a doubling ganger much about your own medium with a sandy whiskers? Poke me nabs in the ribs and pick the earthwort out of his mouth. Treble stouter of Holy Bagot Street, formerly Sword Meat, who I surpassed him lately for 4 and 6, bringing home the Christmas. As heavy as music, hand to eyes on the pier for Noah's Arch. In blessed Foster's place is doing the dirty on me with his tantrums and all these God-forgiven kilowatts I'd be better off without. She's right to him, she's left by me, Jenny Rediviva. Toot, better for you, Mr. Nobrew. Toot, toot, Better for you, Mr. Annal. This is the way we, of a red Saturday morning. When your contraband from Torquay is looking for writing, that is not a good sign. Not? I speak truly. It's a shower sign that it's not. What though it be for the soul of his heart, if even she were a good pool pegeen? If she ate your windowsill, you wouldn't say so. Would you be surprised after that, my asking, have you a bull, a baz bully, with a whistle in his tail to scare other birds? I would. Were you with Cindy and Sandy attending Goliath, a bull? You'd make me sag what you like to. I was intending a funeral, simply and samply. There are two wives of Solbings, their siblings, and both croon to the same theme. Tug bag is a baggets. When that crisp and socolus be soups just camps and clatterclaws and Evangelists off the docks. A luck change. I see, thinking young through the muddle age spread, the moral fat his mental leans on. We can cop that with our strat that is called corkscrewed. It would be finest Boulevard Billy for a mile in every direction, from Lismore to Cape Brendan. Patrick's if they took the bint out of the middle of it. You told of a tryst too, two of a tutu. I wonder now, without releasing secrets of the alcove, Turters and robbers have. I heard mention of whose name anywhere, Mallow Lane or Damash. Strike us up either, and have you aired off Van Humper or Ebel Teresa Kane? Marek, he dropped his Draddocks on Machen his Parrick, and he had Tabara that watercrass shart class off the Archbishop of Yarrick. Broad rib knobs on the bummel, and lily pets on the lee. A being again and becomings again, from the sallies to the alleys through the central power. Purse, quick, quack. Oh, Taras thrushed the share pusher, and he said he was only taking the average grass temperature for Green Thursday, the blocky Scaliger. Who you know the muscle man, his muscle mum and missile mam? Mommy, my mum, he loves a dreary lane. Feel felicitations to daft Mr. Hairwigger, who has just added twin little curls. He was resting between Horrocks' sheets, wailing for white warfare, pro-bold Welsh Breton, and unbiased by the embarrassment of disposal. But the first walking day by thunder, he stepped into the breach and put on his recreation trousers, and riding a prawn in Baltic Bygrad, the old saggy, was when the bold boys of Iran wouldn't join up. How voice you that, nice Sandy man? Not large good man is he, Sandy nice. Ask him this 1 minute up throw winter lotus of his birdie ear womit. He dropped his bases to P flat, and for that was he a laughed, and when baited the whole gamut. Lunacy, martyr died, mad wake Mercure lost, Jorges cessed, Paris skivimanast, Lord dogged, and need I tell ye, false crescended. Dies Dominus, dulled to adulthood, and Annie the Little, his dainty diva, in Celtic twilights, singing him hen-packed rosish through the bars. My Wallace is wild as my Krasnian sea, Grabbershag, Grogy, Scoop and Alcurye, mother of emeralds, Arapoog neighbours, Capilla, Rubrilla, and Melka Momilla, Darby, without delay. Well, I beg to traverse same above statement by Saxy looters in their back hall of coal cutter, what reflects upon my administrance of slow poisoning as my dear revered man her was confined to guard room. I Hindu stand by my pint of his filtered Pilsen's bottle due to Xenophia Howell, H&JCS, which I was bringing up my quee parapoticary's orders in my set-down chair with my mud-face packet from my cash chemist and family drugger, Surrager Dowling.
VS to our oral surgeon, affamado Herr Dr. Ahmed Boramborad, MACA Sahib of a 1001 Umbrella Street, Seringapadham, Allipulli, to see what was my water good, my messical wassergus, for repairs done by bowworm in the rear of pilchnickers. 7 years to his gallanter pole on perch, together with his for me unfillable slopper, property of my deeply for fear reverberated, who is costing us misfortunes which I am writing in my petition to Connaught Journal, when he was sitting him humpbacked in dry, filthy heat to his Trinidad's pencillers at their orpentings, entailing a laxative tendency to marry, especially with him being forbidden fruit and certified by his secular clergy to have his badasmy of emotional volvular, with his basket full of priesters crossing the Singorgius to anoint him with Tommy's Moore's maladies, and thereinafter liable to succumb when served with letters potent below the belch, if my rupee reputed husbandship, HRR, took a brief one in his shirt sales out of the alleged given mineral, telling me see his in Forengistan Sambat papers, Sunday features of a welcomed aperitif with valet of Aeropircio. He never battered one eagles before paying me his duty on my anniversary to the paradise list in my nil ensemble, in his lazy chair, but he hid it up my hemi-faces and all my Mayaranis, and he locked plumb into my merry mouth like ye a massy morning in the end of time, with the soul light's hope on his ruddy cheeks and raw jaws, and my charmer, whom I dipped my hands in, he simply showed me his propendiculus load poker, sea serpents, hisses, sissus stones, which was as then is produced in his man's way by the wisest of Vikrameditationists, with the remark in his gulagurity. Iran for parasites, with rum for the turkey cockies, so Lithia MD, as this is for snooker. Bort. Which was said by whom? It wham, but whim I can't remember. Fantasy on fantasy, amnes fantasies. And there is nihil nor under the clothing moon, when auta we wa her withicle of Torkels, bumps her dumpsy diddle down in the wool sark she mowed, our huty-luty girlery of peerlesses to set up in all their bombacities of feudal fidelity, fanned, flounced, and frangipanned, while the mass stab whereby Ephialtes has exceeded in the measure simplex mendacious by which our artist cuts his throat. Arc away now. Yerds and nudes say eyes and nose, vide, let Ivan be member for gates of gold, for their fadeless sons betrayed her. I rise, O Sariris, be thy mouth given unto thee, for why do you lack a link of luck to poise a pont of perfect peace? On the vignetto is ranging goose, the overseer of the house of the overseer of the seas, Numen, triumphant, saith, fly as the hawk, cry as the corncrake, Annie Latch of the postern is thy name. Shout! My heart, my mother, my heart, my coming forth of darkness. They know not my heart, O cool and dearest. Man gloomery, what a surprise, dear Mr. Preacher. I to hear from your astronomical modesty, yes, there was that skew arch of chrome, sweet home, flood lit up above the flabbergasted firmament, and bump where the camel got the needle. Talk about iridescencies, ruble and beryl and chrysolite, jade, sapphire, jasper and lazuli, orca bellona, heaven cry at earth call, imatathos, extinct your volcanology for the lava moltens. It's you, not me, is erupting heckler.
Opiocis being visible above the horizon, Muliercula occluded by Saturn's serpent ring system, the Pisiolinis, Nova, Ordanis, and Prisca Parthenopea, or Abani's feature in the northern sky. Urs, Mars, and Mercury are surgents below the rim of the zenith part, while Arctura, Anatolia, Hesperin, Mesembria weep in their mansions over Noth, Haste, Soot, and Waste. A pep and you it. Holy snakes, chase me, Charlie. Eva's got barley under her fluencies. The Euromount, he's on the move, and he'll quivy her with his Stromboli. Waddle worse, the bag of a toe, as broad above as he is below, creeping through the lying grass and bull Rusius, the Obsescendian, before the M-fanged Amoria's class. In Bill Shasser's shot shrift writing academy, camouflaged as a blank mange in maple syrup, obeisance to their sit-ins in the felicity of this orb. Her shake to slave, his dick to Dave, and the fat of the land to Goigas. The treadmill pebble dropper, half ahead over ground, and she'd only chits-chats in her spanking bee bonnetry. A la Pelusa, up the slanger. 3 cheers and a heava for the name Dan McGraw. The giant sun is in his eminence, but which is chief of those white dwarfies of which he is surrabanded? And do you think I might have being his 7th? He will kissel me on me elbow. What about his age, says you? What about it, says I? I will confess to his sins and blush me further. I would misdemean to rebuke to the libels of snots from the flesh shambles, the canals. Cynamite is too good for them. 2 over 30s and sure shorties. She's Ascapot at Nile Lodge, and she's Chittencarry at the left, Mrs. Hamazoons. Will you warn your old Habasund, barking at Baggerman, his chokeful chewing his chain? Response, if you please. The said Sully, a barracker associated with Tinkers, the Black Hand, Shullivans, router of anonging most letters, and scurrilous ballots in Parsi French, who is McGrath's thug, and smells cheaply of power spirits, like a deep-sea dibbler, and he is not fit enough to throw guts down to a bear. Sylphing me, when is a maid not a maid? He would go to any pass length for her. So long, Suliman. If they cut his nose on the stitcher, they had their 7 good reasons. Here's to the leg lift of my snuffing trout stocking handkerchief, orange fin with a mosaic of dispensations and the roaring black patata, from my church milliner, when Lynch Brothers with workers, friends in company with T.C. King and the Warden of Galway, is prepared to stretch him sacred by the powers to the starlight. LBW Hemp, hooray, says the captain in the moonlight. I could put him under my palliasse and slap on him all night, says I would roll myself for holy-poly over his borrowing places. How we will make laugh over him together, me and my Riley in the vicar's bed. Quink, says I. He calls to me Granny Stream Auburn when I am hiding under my hair from him, and I cool him my finny king, he's so joyant a bounder. Plunk, said he, inasmuch as I am delightful to be able to state, with the joy of lifing in my 40 winkers, that a handsome sovereign was freely pledged in her panis to the sluts machine, along with a cherry wicker kishabrack of merry fruit under shadow la rose, to both the legitimate lady performers of display unquestionable, Elizabeth and Marietta Gunning, H2O, by that noblesse of leechers at his Saxon tannery, with motto and Walsh's French Latin. O'Neill saw Queen Molly's pants, and much admired engraving, meaning complete manly parts during alleged recent act of our chief Margie magistrates. 5 inches above the kneecap, as required by statutes, VIC 556. If you won't release me, stop to please me, up the leg of me. And now you see, Respect SVP, your wife, You wish to take us through Maria by degrees, as artis literarum que patrona. But I am afraid, my poor woman of that same name, what with your Sylvains and your Salvines, you are misled. Alice for living's pleasures, Lordy Daw and Lady Dawn, Uncle Foozle and Auntie Jack. Sure, that old humbugger was boycotted and girl-cotted in Detton Doom, on hill and haven, even by the show of the flag flotilla, as I am given now to understand, ill-scribed in all their gratuitouses, and conspewed in the take-your-hand-aways. Bumpty-Tumpty sat on a wall, mute art for the million. There wasn't an archimandrite of Dane's Island in the townlands, nor a minx from the Isle of Woman, nor a one of the four cantons, nor any on the whole wheel of his economical conciliabulum, nor nogent Injin maid on Aled the whole scurface of the Jorth would come next or nigh him, Mr. Eel Whipper, seed and nursery man, or his Argus Bumglower, auxilium meum solo ad domini, am sad, for rhyme or ration, from piles or faces, after that. All ears did wag, old Irewakes as Piers Aurel was flabbergasted. Recount. I have it here to my fingers' ends. This Liggy Piggy wanted to go to the jam-pot, and this Leggy Peggy spelt P, and these lucky puckers played at pooping toolatum. Mazda, dasma, madas, sadam. Pater patrum cum filiabus familiarum, or but now and airing out the Marjorie Waters heads, and to change that subjunct from the traumaturgid for once in a while, and darting back to stuff, if so be you may identify yourself with, the hymn in you, that fluctuous neck merchantur, blood fatter and milk mother, since then are too many of her, ab hanalife, and getting on to the daddy again, as them we're ne'er free of. Was he in tea ere he went on the beer, or didn't he on time do something seemly heavy in sugar? He sent out Christy Colomb, and he came back with a jailbird's unbespokables in his beak, and then he sent out the Karen Crow, and the PCs are still looking for him. The seeker from the swade, the beesy boaties from the parent swarm. Speak to the right, rotasis cacani, he can ne'er be bothered, but maun e'er be waked. If there is a future in every past that is present, quis est qui non novit Quinnigan, and quique quot that Quinnigan's quake. Stump. His producers, are they not his consumers? Your examination round his factification for incamination of a warping process. Declaim. Harara man, weren't they arriving in clandestinies for the embandiment of ad regius agnidapes, fagaballers and pan-hibernskers, after the crack in the lean years, scalp-jaggers and house-hunters, like the messicles of the great god, a scarlet trainful, the two-edged Petrard, totaling legates and predaps, in their aggregate ages 32 plus undissimmed centuries of them with insiders, extra omnis, and tutti fruttis all conct, from Rathgar, Rathanga, Roundtown, and Rush, from America Avenue and Asia Place and the Afrian Way and Europa Parade, and besoger the valleys of New Soch Wilds, and from Vico, Mespil Rock, and Sorrento, for the lure of his wheel is the fear of his opidomic, to his Salon de Espera in the keel of his crow, like loads of oars flocking fast to Mount Maximagnetic. Afeared he was a gunner, but affared to stay away. Marionites, dumb stum drummers, Lokenikins, Ashdomers, Batterby Parks, and Crumlin Boyards, Phillipsburgs, Cabraists, and Finglossies, Ballymoonites, Raheniacs, and the bettlers of Clontarf, for to contemplate and manifest and pay their first-rate duties before the both of him. 12 stone aside, with their thieve laraway, and their shiv your thirst, and their whisky to advernos, and their oscriada braios, at and in the licence business premises of his delightful bazaar in the reunited magazine hall by the magazine wall, Hosties and Co. exports, for his 566th birthday, the grand old McGinnis Moore, Percy and Raleigh, taker of the tributes, the Rinsiki Popacork and Piotr the Grape, holding Dunkers Durber, boot kings and India rubber umpires and shows from Paisley and muftis in Muslim, and Sultan Raisins and Jordan Almonders in a row of Jam Sahibs and an odd Principessa in her petticoat, and the Queen of Knights Clubs and the Clara ringleaders, and the two Salams and Halfaham, and the Hanses Khan with his two fat Maharashers and the German Selvergeiser, and he polished up protemptible, tintinabulating to himself so Silfrich, and there was J.B. Dunlap, the best tyrant of Irish times, and the swanks of French wine stewards and Tudor keepsakes, and the Caesarovitch for the current counter, Leodagarius Sant Leger, riding lap saddle long legs up the Oaks' staircase on muleback like Amaxorius Isteroprotus, hindquarters to the fore and kick to the left, and he handy grabbed onto his trolley natural anthem, Horsibus, keep your tally up, and as much as the hall of the vacant throne room, old Loaf's buttery could safely accommodate of the houses of Orange and Better's MP, permeated by Druids DP, Brehons BP, and Flawhulags FP, and Agiapomenites AP, and Anti-Pummelites PP, and Osterkong and Munster's Herald, with Athley Ensigning and Athlon Porisavant, and his Imperial Catchering, his Fane Awan, and his Geminost Sanct Sons in Effiod, and Ordilon, and his diamond-skulled granddaughter, Adamantaya Leobukovskva, all murdering Irish, a mocking a Mac, out of their boom companions in Ponchjab and Dogro, and Pamela and Gawgarati, after plenty of his fresh stout and his good balls of malt, not to forget his O's Amona, nor his beers O'Reilly, sopped down by his pannies Anagalorum. At Kennedy's kiln she ned her dough, back for a bake for me buns, socializing and communicating in the deification of his members, for to nobble or salvage their hair a bit of him. The poor old Bosloos, with his Arthurius clay roses, Doderick Oganok rack, busted to the world at large on the table round, with the floodlight switched back, as true as the Vernons have Brian sword, and 12 by the Tilly Tallows round in Ringcamp, circumassembled by his daughters in the forgiveness of his sons, lying high as he lay in all dimensions, in court dress and Ludmer's chain, with a hogo fluorescent of his swathings round him, like a communion of scents in an Italian warehouse, America's clustered on his hair, the spectrum of his pricing mocking the candy lights of his dadtid. Bag pudding potted to the deaf spot, bewept of his children and seraphim, pores and personalities, venturous drones and dominators, ancients and old ancients, with his buttoned up expositold for sale after referee's inspection, Bogie and Blaurius, bung to ignorious, healed, cured, and embalsamate, pending a resurrection of his bogey, most highly astounded, as it turned up, after his life overlasting, at thus being reduced to nothing.
Bappy go gully and gaffer us all, and all his morties calisthenic, tripping a trapus, nini a twanning, mulo mulelo, homo humilo, don't see a dedio, dude, oh boss, oh boys, oh muerder, oh mord, mach mato maut maro, oh smirch, woe hilil, woe halal, thou thou Donaton, Umartil, Adamnor, shit merg yulumu, home kum, malawanga, ser, see, he moves, mamor, requiem eternal, give dawn all eye and dolmany, bad looks per pepper pot loose in his eyes, psitch. But there's leps of flam in Funnycone's wick, the cane has passed, long live the king. God save you, king, muster of the hidden life. God serve yous kingly, adipose rex. I had 4 in the morning and a couple of the lunch and 3 later on, but you're sows to the dough, do ye think fine fud? Impassible tissue of improbable liars, do you mean to set there where you are now, coddling your supernumerary leg, with that bizer tongue in your talk shop, and your hindies and shindies like a muck in a market, sorry boy, repeating yourself, and tell me that? I mean to sit here on this outlaw, where you are now, surly guy, repleting myself as long as I live in my homespins, like a sleeping top, with all that's buried off sin's incensed inside of me. If I can't upset this pound of pressed olives, I can sit up zounds of sounds upon him. Oliver, he may be an earth presence. Was that a groan? Did I hear the dingo bagpipes? Wasting war in watch. Tris anima mea, prisoner of love, bleating heart, low laid herd, aubain hand, wanted foot, osqui, lignum in. Wrath of God in Donnerbrook fire, is there Stray's world-moving mound, or what static babble is this, tell us? Who is she linking in? Who is she? The snare drum, lay your lung to the ground, lay your lug to the ground. The dead giant man alive, they're playing thimbles and bodkins, clan of the gale, hop, who's within? Dovegal and fin shark, they're ring to the rescue, zin, Crom Abu, Cromwell to the victory, we'll gore gem and gash them and gun them and gloat on them, zin. Oh, widows and orphans, it's the yeomen, red shanks forever, up lanks. The cry of the roe deer it is, the white hind, their slots, link, the hound hunt thorning. Send us in peace, title, Christ in Irish times, Christ on the air's independence, Christ hold the freeman's chairman, Christ light the dully expressed, slog, slack the slaughter, rape the daughter, choke the pope. Ore, cloudy father, unsure, none good, zin, sold, I am sold, Brinna bride, my Esther, my sister, Brinna bride, goodbye, Brinna bride, I sold, pipette dear, us, me, fort, by route, march, me, I'm true, I sold, pipette, my precious, zin, Brinna bride, bet my price, Brinna bride, my price, my precious, zin, Brinna bride, my price, when you get, sell my price, zin, pipette, my priceless one, oh, mother of my tears, believe for me, fold my son, zin, now we're getting it, tune in and pick up the 4 in counties, hello, zin, hello, tit, tell your title, a bride, hello, Barry Macaret, am I through, is, miss, true, tit, what is the Silence. Act drop, stand by, blinders, curtain up, juice please, foots. Hello, are you cigar shanking wheat? I got ye, gobelins, carrot cans. Parfait. Now,
After that, just a siesta. Just permit me a moment. Challenger's Deep is child's play to this, but by our soundings in the Swiss channels, land is due. A truce to the mobbed swear words. Clear the line, priority call. Clear the line, priority call. Sybil, better that or this. Sybil head this end, better that way. Follow the baby spot. Yes, very good now. We are again in the magnetic field. Do you remember on a particular Luke summer night, following a crying fair day, moisten your lips for a lightning strike and begin again. Mind the flickers and dimmers. Better? Well, the isle is times. The airs is Penzance. Vehement general. Delhi expulsed. Still calling of some wave from its specific. Not more, less continuous. There were fires on every bald hill in Holy Ireland that night. Better so? You may say there were, son of a cove. Were they bonfires? That clear? No other name would at all befit them unless that. Bonfires, with their blue beards streaming to the heavens. Was it the high white night now? Whitest night mortal ever saw. Was our Lord of the Heights nigh, Our Lady of the Valley? He was hosting himself up and floasting himself around and ghosting himself to marry her murmur like an E and in upper balcon. Ludes Carol, was there rain by any chance, mist and dew? Plenty, if you wend far enough. There fell some fall of little winter snow, holy as ivory, I gather, Jessie. By Snash the clocka, the nicest of all, in hilly and even Zimmelayers. Did it not blow some gales, westness or ost, sent rather strongly to less, all in humours out of turn, just as they rose and sprung in? Out of all jokes it did, pipette, ice cold, burn, I purr, lieto galum fancies, still cloying, nummer, peace pacific. Do you happen to recollect whether Mona, that high lucky nacht, was shining at all? Sure she was, my midday darling, and not one but a pair of pretty geolackers. Quando? Go, datey. Laterly. That was latterly, certainly. And was there frostwork about, and thick weather and ice, soon callid, soon frozen, cold on warm, but moistly dry? And a boat-shaped blanket of broom and air size, and hailstones, and flamballs, and voda shouts, and everything to please everybody. Hail many fell of grates, hoary-mory smother of fog, there was, so place your artides. Absolutely boiled, obsoletely cowled, Julie and Lulie at their parkiest. The amenities, and the amenities with all their amenities. And the firmness of the formous, of the famous, of the fumous, of the first fog in Maidenvale. Catchy and catch-a-med. From Miss Somers' nice dream back to mad Winthrop's delugium stramens. One expects that kind of rhymy feeling in the sire season. One certainly does. Desire for hire would tire a shire, phone, funcular wire, and mares. Of white caps any? Foam flakes flock foyant from Fox Rock to Finglas. A lamb skip for the Marines. Panorama, the entire horizon cloth, all effects in their joints causeways, rain drum, wind machine, snowbacks, but thunder sheet, no here, under the blankets. This common or garden is now in stiller reality the starry sphere of an oleotorium for broken pottery and ancient vegetables. Simply awful the dirt, an ever nasty ashtray. I see. Now do you know the well-known Kickamiddin where the ill-assorted first couple first met with each other? The place where Ealdorman Fannigan, the time when Junkerman Funnigan? Deed then I do, W.K. In Fingal too they met at Little Peace, aneath the bide tree, yellow house of Snugsborough, Westreeve, Astagob, and Slutsend with Stockings, and Winning's Folly, Merry Falls, all of a two skidoo and skeptumble. God Almighty, you're the devil of a toker. Is it the place fairly exposed to the four last winds? Well, I faithfully, sincerely believe so, indeed, if all what I hope to charity is half true. This stow on the walls, is it woeful Dane bottom? It is woeful indeed, whatever about anything or all's else under the grain-blocked sun of gangrene alien. A tricolour ribbon that spells a caution, the old flag, the cold flag, the flagstone by tomes deep and heavy, to the unveiling memory of peace or the grave. And what saith wooden Wayne Warner, and what saith wooden warning thereof? Tricks pissers will be persecluded. There used to be a tree stuck up, an overlisting ash tree. They're used, sure enough, beside the Anor, at the ford of Slive in Amond. Oakley ashes elm, with a snowdrift from one birchen bough, and the grandest, crownedest, consecrated maypole in all the rain-laden history of wilds. Brown's Thesaurus Planetarum from Nolans, the Prittlewell Press, has nothing alike it, for we are fed of its forest, clad in its wood, burked by its bark, and our lecture is its leave. The cram, the king of all crams, squire maid and damesman of Plantagenets, high and holy. Now, no hiding your wren under a bushel. What was it doing there, for instance? Standing for Ninstas, in Sumerian sunshine, and in Sumerian shudders. You saw it visibly from your hiding place? No, from my invisibly lying place. And you then took down in stereo what took place being tongue committed. I then took my taken place lying down, I thunk I told you, solve it. Remounting a lift towards the Aurigan of spaces. Just how grand in cardinal rounders is this preeminent giant, Sir Arbor? Your bard's high view Avison Valley, I would like to hear you burble to us in strict conclave, purpa parando, and without too much Italiote interference, what you know in petto about our sovereign being stock, tonins Tomasius, odite, corcorandi, udi udite, your eminence, and delicted fraternitries. There's Tudor queen's maids and Idaho shop girls, and they woody babies growing upon her in bird flamingans, Sweeney swinging fugal words on her tip mast, and Orania Epples playing hop do ciel bom to tear, and Tyburn Fenian snoring in his quicken bowl, and crossbones strewing its holy floor, and colprines of Erasmus Smith's Bristol boys, with her underhand lead pencils climbing to her crotch for the origin of spices, and Charlotte Darlings with silk blue ask-me's chattering in dissent to them, Gibbonses and Gobbinses groofing and gibbering, proffering pray-dues to their Anatoles and blighting fin blasts on their catastripes, and the Kilmaim, them pensioners chucking overthrown milestones up to her to fall her cranberries and her palm manettes for their unnatural refection, and hand-painted hoydens plucking husbands of him, and cock robins much more hatching most out of his misado egg drazzles for him, the sun and moon pegging honeysuckle, and white heather down, and Tim Tits tapping resin there, and tomahawks watching tarred elsewhere, creatures of the wold approaching him, holly mid ivy, for to claw and rub, hermits of the desert, barking their infernal shins over her triliteral roots, and his acorns and pine corns shooting wild all sides out of him, plentitude outsends of plenty to thousands, after the truance of the utmost fear, and her downslider in that snake's to naughty wimmering woman's sea life, such a fascinating satinous dress out of that exquisitive creation, and her leaves, my darling dearest, sinning since the night of time, and each and all of their branches meeting and shaking twisty hands, all over again in their new world, through the germination of its gemination from on's outset till odd's end, and encircle him circularly, evove. Is it so exaltated, eximious, extraordinary, and excelsiorizing? Amongst men like trees walking, or trees like angels weeping, no birdie ever soar any wing to eagle it. By rock of agues, clift for eye, telleth that eke the truth. Mushy of a mixedness, a shrub of libertine indeed, but that stain of law in dead, what styles its naming. Tod, too hard parted. I've got that now, Mr. Melamanesi. Finite men's mid-infinite true, the form masculine, the gender feminine. I see. Now, are you derivative of it yourself in any way? The true tree, I mean. Let's hear what science has to say. Pundit the next best king. Splank. It reminds... Upfelbaum. It reminds of the weeping of the daughters, and remounts to the sense arrest. The Witold, the Frausch, and the Dibble, how this Lucifer brimps of phosphorus. And was this tree man angel on his sore at bowman, because knock out the nicknaver knacked him in the neck shaft? Well, he was ever himself for the presentation of crudities to animals, for he had put his own nickel name on every road, duck, and herring before the climber clomb aloft, doing the mid-hill of the park, flattering his bitter hoofed with her conundrums. He would let us have the 3 barrels, such was a bit too thick for the muster of the hoose, so as he called down on the grand precursor who coiled him a crawler of the dupest dye, and thundered at him to flatch down off that erection and be aslimed of himself for the balance of his life. Oh, Finlay's cold-pawed, Ades begatum, were you there, I hear? Were you there when they lagged 'em through the combe? Whoa, whoa. Sometimes it grows on me to ramble. Whoa. So that was how he became the forest of our tree fellers. Yesh, and in the absence of any sober requiet, the faintest of our true phalluses, Baps, bomb slinger. How near do you feel to this capo promontory, sir? There do be days of dry coldness between us, when he does be like a lodging house far astray, and there do be nights of wet wind whistling, when he does be making me onions whoop all kinds of ways. Now you are mair the Merk Lansdowne Road. She's threwed her pippins thereabouts, and they've cropped up tooth on the edge, with hates to leaven the sock-reed isle. Now, Thornyborn, follow the spotlight, please, concerning a boy. Are you acquainted with a pagany vicariously known as Toucher Tom, who is, I suggest, Finnogram as his habitat? Consider yourself on the stand now, and watch your words. Take my advice. Let your motto be inter nubila numbum. Never you mind about my mother or her hoppetout. I consider it if I did, I would feel frightfully ashamed of my advice. He is a man of around 50, struck on Anna Lynch's pico with milk and whiskey, who does meswages and has more dirt on him than an old dog has fleas, kicking stones and knocking snow off walls. Have you ever heard of this old boy Tom, or Tim of the Fishy Stair, who belongs to Kimmage, a crofting district, and is not at all there, and is all the more himself since he is not so, being most of his time down at Greenman, where he steals, pawns, belches, and is a curse, drinking gaily 2 hours after closing time, with a coat on him skin side out against apparitions, with his socks outsewed by springsides, clapping his hands in a feeble sort of way, and systematically mixing with the public going for groceries, slapping greets and little gets soundly with his catgut belts, flapping bare sides and waltzy wembling about in his accoutrements, always in front of the tabernacle like a long-armed Lou, when he would be finished with his tea. Is it that fellow? As mad as the brambles he is. Touch him. With his lawyer sticking to him trouser shins, and his swap-me-notting on the bask of his beret. He has kissed me more than once, I am sorry to say, and if I did commit glad rolleries, may the loon forgive it. Oh, wait, I tell you. We are not going yet. And look here, here's, my dear, what he done, as snooks as I am saying so. Get out, you dirt. A strangely striking pair of speech for the hottest worked word of our sprog. You're not, unhindered in odd times, mere thumb show. Lately? How do I know? Such my billet. Buy a barrack pass. Ask the hornies, tell the robbers. You are alluding to the picking pockets in Lower O'Connell Street? I am alluding to the picking packet, but I am eluding from Laura Connor's treat. Now, just wash and brush up your memoirias a little bit. So I find, referring to the pater and the present man, an eerily demented brick-thrower. I am wondering to myself in mind, qua our Ark of the Covenant was Toucher, a Methodist, whose name, as others say, is not really Tom, was this sot son of a century from Boterstown, Shivering William, the silliest old forker ever hawked Cranach, who was always with him at the big elm and the arch after his teeth were shaken out of their sockets by the dog, for having 5 pins 73 of non-Aryan blood in him abaft the seam level. The scatterling wearing his crown beamer and false clothes of a brewer's grains pattern with the back buttons with his motto on, "You'll remember," ostensibly for that occasion only of the 12th day of Pax and Quantum wedding. I'm wondering. I bet you are. Well, he was wandering, you bet. Whatever was his matter, in his mind too, give him his due, for I am sorry to have to tell you, Hullo and Evo, they were coming down from off him. How curious an epiphany. Holy Cassis eso bracanton. It looked very like it. Neither knows nessus and neither garments. Man is minded of the meagre, what? Woolly? Walty? Aye, another good button gone wrong. Blondman's blaff. Like a skib-leaked lintel, the arbour blide end with Pamela's, Peggyleys, Pollywallies, questuants, quaint-to-quilties, quickamerries, concaving now convexly to the semi-demi hemispheres, and, from the female angle, music ministering, were the subligate sisters, P and Q, Clopatrix, cheery rapist, mutatis mutandis, in pretty much the same pickle, the peach of all piedom, the quest of all quicks. Prequeen ourselves, the prettiest pickles of the unmentionable mutiantes I ever bo peeped at. See, saw, shall see, since the town go went gunning on pranksome quain. Silks a peel and sulks a lusty? Boy and giddle, gape and bore. I hear these two goddesses are liable to sue him. Well, I hope the two Collinses don't leg a bell to shoot him. Both were white and black arpists at clover spilling, nicked. Gelsbach, aye, languised, listed, at hooties for the right hand. Were they now? And were they watching you as watcher as well? Where do you get that wash? The representation does not accord with my experience. They were watching the watched watching. Vetchers all. Good. Hold that watching brief and keep this witching longer. Now, retouching friend Tomsky, the enemy, did you gather much from that what he let drop? We are sitting here for that. I was rooshy and mad, no lie, about his shapeless hat. I suspect you must have been. You are making your thunderous mistake, but I was dung sorry for him too. Oh, Shaun, not really. Were you sorry you were mad for him, with him then? When I tell you I was rooshy and mad with myself altogether, so I was, for being sorry for him. So, absolutely. Would you blame him at all stages? I believe in many an old stager, but what seems sooth to a Greek seems nooth to a Giantal. Who kills the cat in Cairo coaxes cocks in Gaul. I put it to you that this was solely in his sunflower state, and that he was halio-draping het while the maids all sighed for him. That his halio-draping het was why maids all sighed for him, ventured and vied for him. After Portaweo, Kansas, the Burnham, and New Amsterdames, it wouldn't surprise me in the very least. That tear in this mull, your tear in our smile, 'tis life that lies if women's eyes have been our old undoing. Lid after lid, reform in mine size his deformation. Tiff puff up my nostril, would you puff the earthworm outer my ear? He could cloud booze his eyes to the birth of his garse. He could lump all his lot through the half of her play, but he just couldn't laugh through the whole of her farce. Becorpse he warn't built that way. So he out and outs his volume tangere, and has a lightning consultation, and he downs his pantalogians, and he made a piece of first per personal poetry that stay still remains to be cleaned. Booms of bombs and heavy rethudders. This aim to you. The tale, so mastrodantic, as you tell it, nearly takes your own mouth's breath away. Your troppers are so unrelieved because his troopers were in difficulties. Still, let's stultitium done in vano, condone ineptius made in veritus. How many were married on that top of all strapping mornings after the midnight turkey drive, my good watcher? Perhaps that'd be telling. With the whole fro him and hey fra her. But as regards to Tammy Thornycraft, I define the lawn mare and the laney Maurus and all the prentices of Wilds to massage him. Now the gunner shottled into Guinness skinography. Come to the ballet at the Taller's Hall. We mean to be melee on the mare's maw, and leap rink and make folly to the gaoler's gall. Awake, come, awake, every old skin in the leathern world. Infect the whole stock company of the old house of the leaking barrel. Was Thomistically drunk 2 by 2, lurking o' tootlers with tombers o' beggars. The blog and turfs and the brandy-wine bank rompers, throw Norman fashion, I have been told, down to the Bankline corks. Some nasty blunt clubs were being operated after the tradition of a Wesleyan bottle riot act, and a few plates were being shied about and the tumblers bearing traces of fresh porter rolling around, independent of that, for the airing of Finn's insul. And then following that, the whopping breakfast at the Heaven and Covenant, with rodeo echoing how his bread cost on the voters would be a comeback for one, like the depredations of Scandal-Ivory. In and on used the wobble sloops of closts, eh? Would that be tall tale too? This was the grandsire Arthur. This was his in-white horse. Sip. Well, naturally he was, lout he's also genderymen. Being curse festied, they came from all lands beyond the wave for songs of Innisfield. Whiskway and mortem, no pussy porcius either, invitem cappings all around. But the right reverend priest, Mr. Hobsonbond, and the reverend bride left, Frizzy Frau, were sober enough. I think they were sober. I think your widdershins there about the right reverence. McGraw for the North Wigan Cup team was wedding beast man. Papers before us carry. You saw him hurriedly, or did you, if that seems not irrelevant, with Slater's hammer perhaps? or he was in surge? I hardly did, on the stroke of the dozen. I'm sure I'm wrong, but I heard the irreverent Mr. McGraw, in search of a stammer, kicking the bedding out of the old sexton, Red Fox Goodman, around the sacristy, till they were bull beetle black and buffeteer blue, while I and Flood and the other men, jazzed like brollies incestuous, was giggling his missus to gackles in the hall. The divilline, she's a lamp in her throat, with her siggin leckle and her 12-pound latch. A loyal wifeish woman, Kinnick weeping cough, while she lady law was all their rage. But you did establish personal contact in exegesis or on point of order? That pecuniary pond is beyond my pinigay pretensions. I am resting on a pigs of Jesus, but I've a big suggestion it was about the pint of porter. You are a succorsome, but this all, as Ayres said to Oscar, was only that childbearer might blog us well side split. Where Letty's hereditate, a dark mean swart hairy. Only 'twas woman's to woman, with man's straw man. Bully burly yet hardly hurly, the saloon bulkhead, did you say, or the tween decks? Between drinks, I'm deeply painfully repeated. Was she wearing shub-ladies' trowers, in humour of her hobbies, Masses Star Stellar? Mrs. Tan Taylor? Just a floating panel. Secretaire sliding drawers, a budge of clees on her shoulder, a cider brass sid ass on her annulus findring, and 40 cross-lips in her curling tongues. So this was the dope that woollied the cad, that kinked the rock, that noised the rape, that tried the sap, that hugged the mort, that legged in the hooks, that joke-bilked. The jest of junk the jungular, jacked up in a jock the rapper. Law, gar, you don't soy so. And all upside down her whole creation. So there was nothing serical between you. And Dry Salter, father of Izad, how was he now? To the pink man, like an almanac in his shirt and stick-up, Bristol to the bear, the megalo-magellan of our wine vats waterway, squeezing the life out of the Liffey. Christopher Carambus, such is oldest faction. You punk me. He came, he kissed, he conquered, vulture of Arner, the must of his glanceful coaxing the beam in her eye, that musked bell of the masked ball, Annabella, Lovabella, Pullabella, yep, Titan tongue, taller tone in Sabina's, aye, she was lithe and pleasable. Wilt thou thee lee? Wilt thou thee he? Wilt thou thee hussif? The quicker the deef, the softer the sapstaff, but the main, the mightier, the stricker, the straight. To the vast go the game. It is the circumconversioning of anti-lithual paganels by a Huggernut Cramwell energumen, or the K-code edition of an asquiliterous Patagonian to the hurrayism of the capitainesque exploser. I believe you, tape-top, really. Oh, really? Naughty, we're nowhere without ye. In steam of cables now our battles above our hearths doth hum, and Malco's crack-legs logs while fun, and Malco's crack-legs logs of fun, while Angley's tears are ingles. So lent she him ear to borrow his manhood, or so it appears, and borrow him his namus. Soulful eyes and sallow-foul hair-weed, and the sickly sigh from her gingering mouth, like a Dublin bar in the morning. Primus, auri forasti me. The park is gracer than the whole, says she, but Shackleton's my fortune. Ever sought of being artained? You soft to say with ye, flattero Ford, that honey I hurriedly chew you. Is that answers? it am query. The house was toot and come in by the bridge called Tilt-Ass, but you solemnly solemnly sure beyond the shatter of a canicular year. But are you solemnly sure beyond the shatter of the canicular year, nascitur ordo seculi numfit? Seriously and serenely sure behind the shutter. Securius indicat umbris tellurum. Datias, your time of emerging. We are still in drought of amidst domine, Marcus of Corrig, a laughing hunter in Pertisu, and crazy-headed Jorn, the bullway born, fruitful as his orkin, ex ugula lenomen, and Jams of Delphins born, or, as odors lay, of Tophet, dancing the Nijinsky choreospically, like an Easter sun ran the calendar, the vice, Taranta boom today. You should pree him prance the polecat. You would sniff his wops around. You should hear his pedagrot straying as he skimpy skirpa crashed for carambas. A star dancer indeed, devilish glad too, orta vito semi-ricordo. The pantaglionic affection through his blood like a bad influenza in a leap at bounding point. Out of prisky Papagenoa, the palsied old Priamite, home from Edwin Hamilton's Christmas pantalonade, Aropos Roxy and Pantaharia at the Gaiety, tripudiating round the area with his 52 hairs of age. They may reel at his likes, but it's no a bonum shindo. And with what was Lillabill Isabel made at? Trysts and trains and trinnies and trains. A take back to the Virgin page, darn it. I grant you, the Quobus Quartet were there too, if I mistake not, as a sideline, but Pace the contempt of Senate, well to the fore, in an amnesty meeting, metamorphosed to decide where again when to meet themselves, flopsome and jerksome, lubber and deliric, drinking unsteadily through the Kerry quadrilles and Listoa lancers, and master singing always with that consecutive fifth of theirs, like a 4 wise elephants in an outing under a 12-pole stalled table. They were simple scandalmongers, that familiar and all. Norman, Desmond, Osmond, and Kenneth, making magical history all over the show. In some hum, and other marriage feats. All our stakes they were a-stumbling round the ranky roars assembling, when big Arthur flogged the field at Annie's courting. Suddenly some well-fired clay was cast out through the shapsteckers of a hoy's house. Certainly there was a hellfire club kicked out through the waisistas of theirs where, like heavy stosenvil catacolumba tumbling, 3 days 3 times into the vacuum, punch, or no at Ecclesiastes, non, ninny, there is no hay in Eccles hostel, there is no hay in Eccles hostel. Yet then I saw a sign of him. If you could scrape out his acquaintance, name or address him, and we'll call it a night. I-O-L. You are sure it's not a shoulder's shake-up or a pliter's palming or a winker's wake, etc., etceterorum you were at? Precisely. Mayhap, hora pro nubis, thunder's day, at a little bit of heaven, Howth, the wife of Demetrius, Dam, Earl Adam Fitzadam of a Tartar Bertha, or Sackville Lowry of Moorlands West, at the auspice for the living Bonnybrook, by the river, and A. Briggs Carlisle, guardian of the birds' maids, and deputalizer for groom, pontifical mess, or suddenly shot, furtive fired by the riots, no flies, agreest. Mayhem also loans through the post, with or without security, Everywhere, any amount, moths of its swamp stakers, purely providential. Floods, the pink man, the squeeze, the pint with the kick. Gah! And then the punch to Gaelicize it. Fox, the lady with the lamp, and the boy in the barley bag. The old man on his R's. Great scrap. 'Tis we and you and ye and me and hymns and hurts and heels and shields. The Irish race, the Irish nation, the heiress place that heir stationed. He was coping for penance while you were ringing his bell. Did the kiki, good man, rude fox, say anything important? Clam or cram, spick or spat? No more than Richmond's periwelker. Nit to word, dum to thig. A gale galled by sheen of scorn, knock, signifying nothing, mock. Fortitudo eas rod amum tenuit, 5 maim, or something very similar. I should like to euphonize that. It sounds in isochronism, secret speech Hazelton, and obviously disavowed. But it is good lay law too. We may take those well-meant kicks for free granted, though ultra vires, void, and, in fact, unnecessarily so. Happily you were not quite so successfully in the process verbal whereby you sublimate your blepharospasmatical suppressions, it seems. What was that? First I heard about it. Were you or were you not? Ask yourself the answer. I'm not giving you a short question. Now, not mix up, cast your eyes around Capel Court. I want you, witness of this epic struggle, as yours so mine, to reconstruct for us, as briefly as you can, in exactly the same as a mind's eye view, how these funeral games, which have been pouring over us through Homer's carrier pigeons, massacredoed as the holy name rally round took place. Which? Sure, I told you that afoul. I was drunk all lost life. Well, tell it to me, be fair, the whole plan of campaign, in the bamboozle minstrel voice of yours. Let's have it, Christy, the Dublin own, the thrice familiar. Ah, sure, I witness Fogus. 'Tis all around me bebatters bid hat. Ah, go on now, Master Bones, a gig for a gag, with your impediments and your peroquatriques. Blank memory of hatless darky in blued suit. You were ever the gentle poet, dove from Haywarden, pitcher cup, patcher cap, pretty man. Be nice about it, Bones minor. Look cheerful. Come, delicacy. Go to the end, thou slackard. Once upon a grass and a hopping high grass it was. Faith then, Mr. Cheeryman, first he come up, a gag as a gig, bachelor's rake to the town's major from the west. McSmashaw swingy of the cattle axes, got up regardless, with a cock on the Kildare side of his tattersall, and his riddle-sneaks ragamufflers and the horrid contrivance as seen above, whistling into a bone tolerably delicately, the wearing of the blue, and taking off his plush-squatted Bugsby in his perusual flea and loisy manner, saying good mraucus to Weaverly Barley, and dragging his feet in the usual course, and was ever so terribly nass, really, telling him clean his nagels and vex himself up miles, and so on and so forth, and so to take the comb to the grizzlies, and who done that foxy freak on his bear's hairs, like fire bursting out of the umpire, and half hang me, sir, if he wasn't wanting his calico body back before he to take his life, or to save his life. Then Begor, counting as many as 11 to 32 seconds with his pocket browning, like I said, Juan, swan, swan. This is my authority. He kept for coursing hapscops foul fand in Cogan, for Coacoaky the key of John Dunn's field, for it was for to scent, and the way Montague was ribed and wolfing to know all what went off, and who burned the hay, perchance wilt thou say, before he'd kill all the canes and the price of Patch Purcell's facetotum, which the man, his plantagonist,
up from the bog of the depths, who was raging with the thirst of the sacred sponge, and who, as a master of pasht, so far as him was concerned, was only standing there nonplussed at the corner of Turbot Street, perplexing about the palm shop and puppering to spit, wanting to know whelp the heaven conventions compass Memphis he wanted with him knew nothing about. The source in Croxer, like the nap o' Ferro Pater Tandy Moore and Burgess Medley. In other words, was that how in the unusual curse of things, as compliment to compliment, though, after a manner of men which I must and will say seems extraordinary, their selicular, subtler, angelic warfare or photoplay finister started? Truly, that I may never. Did one scum then in aura drama the deaf, after some clever play in the mud, mention to the other undesirable, a dumb, dirting diverse intentional instance, that upon the resume after the angerous, how for this deal he was a pig-headed Swede, and to wend himself to a mendicis. To be sure he did, the huggernut, only it was turnip-headed dunce, I beg your pardon, and he would jokes bowed or blow the beholder with his black masket off the ball and green. Sublime was the warning. The author, in fact, was Mardred. Did he, the first spikesman, do anything to him, the last spokesman, when, after heaving some more smut and chaff between them, they rolled to gutter in the ditch together, Black Pig's Dyke? No, he had his teeth in the back of his head. Did Box then try to shine his puss? No, but Cox did to shin the punman. The worsted crying that if ever he looked on Lever Holman's again, and the bester hewing that ever he might save son life. Truly, truly, asbestos he ever, and so I never. That forte Carlisle touch breaking the Campton's piano back. Punch! And you are my meaning that would be going on to about half noon, click o'clock, pip Emma, grim wicker time, by your queer-cut quadrant. You will be asking me, and I wish to Higgins you wouldn't. Would it? Let it be 12:30 after a somersault of the tardest. And it was 11:32 before, and so and such reloy on it. Tick up on time. How day you doom? That rising day sinks rosing in a night of 9 weeks' wonder. Amtes, Marcy Buckup, the uneven day of the 11th month of the unevented year, at Martin Mass. A triduum before our Larry's own day, by which of your chronos, my man of 4 watches, larboard, starboard, dog or dath. Dunsink, rugby, ballast and ball, you can imagine. Language this all's fair for the loath of Marsus ambivalent about it. Will you swear all the same you saw their shadows 100 foot later, struggling diabolically over this, that, and the other, their virtues pro and his principality con, near the ruins, Drogheda Street, and kicking up the devil's own dust for the Milesian wind? I will, I did, they were, I swear, like the heavenly militia, so reek me gilly-gully, with my tongue through my toe-cap on the headlong stone of Kismet, if so 'tis the will of whose be done. Weepin' Lorkins, they must have put in some wonderful work, ecad, on the quiet like, during this arms parley, meteorites, forces, vegetarians. Dost thou not think so? Aye. The illegal-looking ranger fender, alias turfing iron, a product of hostages and co. Engineers changed feet several times as Briar's revolver during the weapon swap. Piff? Puff. Excuse yourself. It was an ersatz Lutheran can. They did not know the war was over, and were only berabelling or berapelling one another by chance or necessity with sham battles, mere and whiny, as betwixt picture shirts and scuticules, like their caricatures in an Irish Roman to sarrobrate the expulsion of the Danos. What sayest thou, Scusa Mercule? That's all, for he was heavily,
upright man, limba romina, in buclis toxara, farce in gutterish. I mean the Morgans and the Dorians in Finnish. I know you don't, in Finnegans. The music of the future of the barbarians of the bashed, co canally, da Danieli. Yet this war has made peace, in voine veritas, ab chaos lex, neat where? O bella, o pia, o pura, amem, han war amoxtus, thanks be to Balbus. All the same you sounded would clang howlish like Hull hoping for Christmians. But 'twill cling hellish like Engels open for Europeans, if you sensed ho the sum, so be vigil. And this pattern pooch punner mine of cocoon and propry went on hagen min a whole wake, your night after Larry's night, spit and spite on Dora O'Huggins, Ormond caught butler, the artillery of the O'Hefferns answering the cavalry of the MacLeods, forte and more forte, 1,001 times, according to your cock and a biddy story, ludly longy for years and years perhaps. That's right. This is his Lagos life. This is me Tim Tom Tom, and this is her two pequeeny ones. From the last finger on the second foot of the fourth band to the first one on the last one of the first. That's right. Finny. Very, very finny. It may look funny, but fair it is. This is not guild enough, Mr. Brass Latin. Fing and tonguing and winging and ponging and all your rally and ramp and rant. Did you think I was asleep at the wheel? Do you mean to tall grand jurors and Dathans of Tharctic on your oath, me lad, and ask us to believe you for all your enduring long terms, with your last foot foremouthed, that your moon was shining on the tors and on the cresties and wind blowing night after night for years and years perhaps, after you swearing to it a while back before your court examiner, Mark Wather, that there was rain and plenty all the team? Perhaps so, as you grandly affirm, Robman Calvinic. I never thought over it, faith. I most certainly think so about it. I hope, unless it is actionable, it would be a charity for me to think about something which I must on no accounts omit, but on no case accounts omit, if you ask to me. It was told me in inspired statement by a friend of myself in reply to salute Tarpey after 3 o'clock mass with 40 ducks indulgent, that some rain was promised to Mrs. Lyons, the invalid of Aunt Tarty Villa, with lots gope and sousers, and likewise he told me, the recusant, after telling mass with 200 genuflections at the split hour of blight, when bars are keeping so sly, as was what's follows. He is doing a walk, says she, in the Thielmix Park, says he, like a terrible Turk, says she, letting loose on his nursery, and, begala, he meet himself with Mr. Michael Cleary of a Tuesday, who said Father MacGregor was desperate to the bad place about Thespals, and ejaculating about all the starods, and cat spew swashing his earwanker in thin convenience, being locked up for months, owing to being putrinized by stragglers abusing the apparatus, and for Tarpey to pull himself into his soup and fish, and to push on his barrow saloner, and to go to the tumple like greased lining, and see Father MacGregor, and be cad, sir, he was to pipe up and salutate that clergyman, and to tell his holiness the whole goat's throat about the 3 shillings in the convutional, and to say how Mr. Lyons, the cup-tosser, was the infidel who prophesied to pose 3 shillings Peter's pelf offer tocher from Paraguayas, and albs by the yard to Mr. Martin Cleary for Father Matthew to put up a midnight mask, saints withins, of a thrush day for African man, and to let brown child do, and to leave he alone, and all the nuisances committed by soldats and non-behaviours and misbelovers for Endi de Lecluse, to send more hee-haw hell's flutes, my prodder again, and I never brought my cads in togs blanket. Phew! angly as arrows, but you have right, my Celt slinger. Nils, Yawn, and Connaught. Should brothers be for all, then? So let us be octo, while I'll bite the bill, and we'll wang till wabbling befoul you. But mere and mire trollops will never make the game on the bibby bobs burns of whatch. What hill are you fluking about, ye lame look on fiat? I'll discipline ye. Will you swear or affirm the day to your second sight? No, and recant that you affirmed and prophetized at first sight, for his southerly accent was all Paddy Flaherty. Will ye, aye or nay? I say aye. I firmly swear to it that it's ruly and coolly booty holy was within my holy hagionious lips, continuously poised upon the rubricated annuals of St. Ulster. That's very good of you, Yarcy. Maybe you wouldn't mind telling us, by labros lad, how very much bright cabbage or paperming comforts do you draw for all your swearing? The Spanglers, kiddie. Prutha, there you have me. Very nothing, all potatoes. I call it, for I might as well tell you, excelsis, and I am not swallowing my air. The golden bridge is truth. It amounts to nada in pounds or pence, not the glass of Lucan, nor as much as the cost price of a Highland men's trouser tree, or the 3 crowns round your drap hole. Isn't it dram disgusting for the whole dumb plodding thing? Come now, Johnny, we weren't born yesterday. Pro tanto quid retribumus. I ask you to say on your Scotty pigtail you were promised fine times with some stagger juice or dead horse, on strip or in larges, at the Raven in Sugarloaf, either Jones's Lane or James's Gate, anyhow. Bush Miller, do you think for a moment, yes, by the way, how very necessarily true, give me fair play, when? At the Dove and Raven Tavern, no, To wit your wizened. Water, darty water, up Jubilee sod, beat, peat, wheat, treat. What harm wants but demands it. How would you like to hear your right name now, Gazi Power, my tristy minstrel, if you're not freckened of frank comment? Not the frightened of frank anybody's gas power or ill-conditioned ulcers, neither. Your uncles, your gullet. Will you repeat that to me outside, Lane Commons? After you've shouted a few, I will when it suits me, hustler. Good, we make fight, 3-1, ratty. But no, from example, Emania Roffero, what do you have? What you mean you, August one? Fair play for Finnegans, I will have my humours, sure, but you would not do the cowardly thing and maul me ruin. Tell Queen's Road I am sailing. Farewell, but whenever. Bye. If I choose to put a bullet like you through the grill for heckling, what business is that of yours, you bollock? I don't know, sir. Don't ask me, your honour. Gently, Northern Ire. Love that red hand. Let me once more. There are sordidly tales within tales. You clearly understand that. Now my other point. Did you know, whether by melanodactylism or purely libationally, that one of these 2 Crimeans with the fender, the taller man, was accused of a certain offence or of a choice of 2 serious charges, as skirts were divided on the subject? If you like it better that way, you did, you rogue you. You hear things, besides, and serially now. Bushes have eyes, don't forget. Ha! Which moral turpitude would you select of the 2 for choice if you had your way? Playing bull before she-bears, or the hind legs off a clothes horse? Did any orange peelers or green goaters appear periodically up your sylvan family tree? Buggered if I know. It all depends on how much family silver you want for a nass and pear. Ha! What do you mean, sir, behind your ha? You don't ha to do that, you know, snap-a-graph. Nothing, sir, only a bone moving into place. Blot-a-gaff. Ha-ha! What? Are you to have all the pleasure quizzing on me? I didn't say it aloud, sir. I have something inside of me talking to myself. You're a nice third-degree witness, Faith. But this is no laughing matter. Do you think we are tone-deafs in our noses to boot? Can you not distinguish the sense prain from the sound bray? You have homosexual cathias of empathy between narcissism of the expert and steatopigic invertedness. Get yourself psychoanalyzed. Oh, begor, I want no expert nurse's sympathy from yours, Bruins Quadroons, and I can soak a loose myself any time I want. The fog follow you all with your interferences or any other pigeon stealer. Sample. Have you ever reflected, we report you, that the evil what though it was willed might nevertheless lead somehow on to good toward the genuality? A popwo a haster meets waster, and talking of plebiscites by a show of hands, whether declaratory or effective in all seriousness, has it become to dawn in you yet that the deponent, the man from St. Ives, may have been, one is reluctant to use the passive voiced, may have been as much sinned against as sinning? For if we looked at it verbally, perhaps there is no true noun in active nature where every body being, please read this mufto, is becoming in its own town eyeballs. Now the long form and the strong form and the reform altogether. Hotchkiss Cothers ever ready, one brother to never reached, well over countless hands, sure of many winners and losers, groomed by S. Sampson and son, Brenson by Delilah's. We'll stand at bay, Dublin, from none till Dan, and vites inversion, and at Miss or Mrs. McManigan's yard. Perhaps you can explain, Sagobian. The mod needs a rebus. Pro-general continuation, and in particular explication to your singular interrogation, are asseveralation. Laddie a gent, pals will smile up at me and Frisky Shorty, my inmate friend, as is uncommon struck on poplar poetry, and a few free besides round at West Pauper Bosquet, was glad to be back again with the chaps and just arguing friendly-like at the daughter Canny's house, having a wee chatty with our hosty and his comfy estably over the old Middlesex party and his moral terps, meaning flu, pox and mizzles, grip, gripe, gleet and sprue, caries, rabies, numps and dumps. What me and Frisky and our consensus and the whole double gig screw of subscribers, not to say the Burman, having successfully concluded our tour of Bible, wants to know, is this a here? Supposing for an ethical fict, him, which the findings showed, to have taken his Epstein license before the Norsex divisional respectively as regards them, male privates, and or concomitantly with all common or neutral respects to them, public excess females, whereas albeit really sweet fillies, as was very properly held by the Metropolitan in connection with this regrettable nuisance touching arbitrary conduct, being in strict contravention of Schedule and Board of Forests and Works bylaws, regulationing sparkers and soakers amusements section of our beloved nature park, in pursuance of which police agents me and Shorty have approached the reverend gentleman of the name of Mr. Coppinger with reference to a piece of fire fittings, as was most obliging, upon my Sam, in this matter of his explanations affirmative, negative, and limitive, given to me and Shorty, touching that the good book says of Tool Daisyman concerning the merits of early bisexualism, besides him citing from a proved lectionary example given by a valued friend of the name of Mr. J.P. Cockshot, reticent of England, as owns a pretty masonette, quis deus, fronting on the Sussex bluffs, as was telling us categoric how Mr. Cockshot, as he had his assignation with present holder by Deepole, an indenture of the swearing belt, he tells him hypothetic, the Reverend Mr. Coppinger, he reckons himself disjunctively with his windward eye up to 12 miles of a county farm school of herring, passing themselves supernatantly by the blow tourneys, from 12 and them may riding him by the silent hour, butting, charging, bracing, backing, springing, shrinking, swaying, darting, shooting, bucking, sprinkling their dossies, saduschiok, with the twinks in their tails. And the reverends, he says, somewhat problematical, by yon socialist son, got me, but them earrings was as gladful as vis-à-vis kippers could be, considering, flipping their little coppingers, potsum, the fresh little flirties, the dirty little gilly brighteners, pickle their spratties, the little smolty gallicers, and reverend, says he, more assertitoff, zwelf me Zeus, says he, letting all fact be the extent of the superficies, lamb the curves of the scaligerants, and pesk the ever-urge flosity of their pectoralium, them little salty populators, says he, most apodictic, as sure as my bream eggs is on cockshot under news. All them little up and down dippies, they was all of a libidinous pickpock party and raid on the Rigolo Finsky, doodah, and testimonials to their early bisexualism. Such, he says, is how the Reverend Coppinger, he visualizes the hidebound homilies of Creed Crux ethics. Watch yourself delicately every morning in your brack-sullied toilet. The use of cold water testificates, Dr. Rutty, may be warmly recommended for the subjugation of congenital lust. Tolol schools. Tell hell and Barbados we ye, and your Ararian corporation, Pelagiarist, remonstrant Montgomeryite, short lives to your relatives, ye're upsexed, so ye are, with macroglossia and microoxyphilix. Wait now, like slip, I sent egoarchicism. I will take you to task. I don't follow you that far in your otherwise accurate account. Was it Essex Lucius or Salmo Ferax? You are taxing us into the driven future, are you not, with this rutty-made fishery? Lalia, Lilia, Lilia, Lolia, and lively, lovely Lola Montez. Gubernather. That they say is a Fenian on the secret, named Parasol Irely, spawning over in fry like a merry monarch, all a manning around his 7 parish churches, and peopling the ribald baronies with dans, augs, and cannels. Lift it now, hosty, humps your mark, for a Runnymede landing, a dondering veshvish, magnum carpum, es hit neat zoo. There's an old psalm-sobbing lax salmoner, foggy board in here in Plunder House, who went floundering with his boatloads of sperm and spunk about, leaping freck after every long tom and wet lissy between Howth and Humbermouth. Our human conger eel. Hep, I can see him in the fish no. Up wi' your whippy, hold that lad, pray him mark and ein. Bullhead, pull you, sir, Olive Quill does it, Longeal of Mal, and he'll cry before he's flayed, and his tear make New Island. Did arise, way long fish, the great fin make become your threeth o'er the wild, man you wear. He missed her mouth and stood into thee, Romunculus Remus, plying the rape, so as now any bumpress is bound to get up in her poo her leg and bunk on her bed. If he pulled her leg and bunk on her butt, no, he skid like a skate and birthed on her Bernie, and never a fear, but they'll land him yet, slithery scales on Liffey Bank, times and halve a time, with a pillow of sand to poster him. Do you say they will? I bet you they will. Among the shivering sedges so, weedy waving o'er the tulip beds of rush below. Where do you take your mugs to wash after dark? To my lead, to me lout, Tommy lad. Besides the bubbly waters of, babbly bobbly waters of, right. Grenadiers, and tell me now, were they anglers or angelers, coexistent and compressant with or without their tertium quid? 3 and 1, 1 and 3, Shem and Shaun, and the shame that sunders 'em. Wisdom's son, folly's brother. God bless your ginger, wiggle waggle. That's 3 slots and no burners. You're forgetting the Ginny Joes or for the Fay boys. What, Walker John referent? Play us your patmost, and unpack you lopes. Naive croaking. Woe on woe, says Ward of Daly. Woman will water the wild world over, and the maid of the folly will go where glory. Sure, I thought it was larking in the trifle of the fury glands, with 2 stripping bear maids, Stella Underwood and Moth McGarry. He was hand to dagger, that time, and their mother a rawny poodfrows, I was given to understand, with superfluvious hairs begum. There was that one that was always mad gone on him, her first king of cloves, and the most broad-cussed man in Corrick-on-Sharon, County Roscarman. Sure, she was near drowned in pondous cold streams of admiration for herself, as bad as my Tarpian cousin Vesta Tully, making faces at her bat-spilled likeness in the brook after and cooling herself in the element, she pleasing it, she praising it, with salices and white-o-wills, all tossed as she was, the play-actress, love, sheelings, love. Oh, and shears and bride little, all of her own. Narcissuses are as the daughters of inversion. Cecilias through their laughing classes become pooler mates in laker life. It seems the same with Iscapellas. Is, God tell us, a ticky for thy thoughts. Listenest me, merest. They were harrowed, those finweeds. Come, rest in this bosom. So sorry you lost him, poor lamb. Of course I knew you are a very wicked girl to go in the dream place and at that time of the dream, and it was a very wrong thing to do, even under the dark flush of night. There, all grand passia, he's gone on his bombashell, through geesing and so pleasing at striptease up the stairs. The boys on the corner were talking too, and your sorrowful miseries first come upon you. Still to forgive it, divine my little whiffy, and everybody knows you do look lovely in your invincibles eulogia, a perfect apposition with the cold cream, assoluta. From Bolio's I always use in awards after I am burned a rich egg, and derive the greatest benefit, sign of the cost. My, you do, simply adorable. Could I but pass my hands through thine hair, so Vicky, very tiny. Oh, Francis, say howdy, oh, Dotty. Chic hands, the way they curve there under new charming cuffs. I am more divine like that when I've 2 of everything up to boy-proof nicks. Winning in a way, only my arms are whiter, dear. Blanche main idler, fair hair, frail one. Listen, mame, sweetie. Oh, be joyful. Mirror do justice, taper of ivory, heart of the convent, hoops of gold. My veil will save it undying from his eternal fire. It's meanly us 2, mame idol. Of course it was downright very wicked of him, really meeting me disguised Bartolomeo, perfectly appealing D.V., with my lovebirds, my Columbinas, their sensitives shrinked, even Netta and Linda are ciutites, and they've sin some Tim tankus. My rillies were Libanos, my accents embrace. How me adores each another, simply, mon ishibo, ma rain bell. In his storm collar, as I leaned yestreen from his musky shit labs. Even my little palm got excited when I turned his head on his same manly bust and kissed him more, only he might speak to a person, Lord so piteous, taking up my worth's ill wrong. May I introduce? This is my futuous, lips and looks love last. Still me with you, you poor child. We'll make it up with Mother Conception and a glorious lie between us. Sweetness, so as not a novene in all the convent Loretos, not my littlest one of all, for mercy's sake, need ever know what passed our lips, or, yes, sir, will, cloth your wind, fee o fi, cover us nice, banch the dread, a litton's looking, lo him lovely, make me feel good in the moontime. I will all take bloss as orange that St. Audien's Ross and chocolate chapery, with my diamond splick feast after a min-owned hose. For all the cat club to go crazy, and Father Blessius Mendelssohn will be beminding hand. Kyrie elation, crystal elation, Kyrie elation, elation amants. Sing to us, sing to us, sing to us. Amam, so meme nearest, languished hister, be free to me. I am fading. And listen, you beauty Esther. I'll be clue to know who knows you, pray Magda, Martha with losing Joan. While I lie with warm lisp on the tolka, I'm fey. Eusapia, fausle, fele tutte, languishing hysteria, the clow historique. How is this at all? Is that the thing in such, or are tits the that? Here we hear her first prose poem of Sora unto Sora, Elysius twin streams, twine strains through our loring glass, or Alice in Jumboland. Ding dong, where's your pal in silks illustri? Think of a maiden, presentation, double her annunciation. Take your first thoughts away from her immaculation. Knock it and it shall appall to you. Who shone yet shimmers will e'er shining. Cruise her, voil her, hailed her hindly. After lyric and themodious soft aglow, iris of the vows. This young bar lady, what? Euphemiously, is she having an ambigual act herself in apparition with herself, as consuelas to Sonius may? Dang, and tether logio, this and that and these and those. You're crackling out of your turn, my Munster firefly, like always, and to our end and Longhorns cannot stay off my air. You've grabbed the capital and you've had the Lyons Shire since 1542, but there's all the difference in Ireland between your borderation, my chatty cove, and me. The Leinster boy to the wall is gone, and there's Maureen Astorine from Mon and Con, with a tykes named Moke, dog men's nimmer win. You last led the first when we last, but we first trump your last with the lasting. Jump the rail chairs or take them as you please, but answer my questions first, Foxy Jack. Ye've as much scullabog cheek on you now as would boil a cauldron of calibros. Did the market missioners Hayde in Wombwell, when given the raspberry, find more than 16% of chalk in the purity, promptitude, and perfection flour of this raw materialist, and less than a 7th promile in his meal? We bright young chaps of the brand new brain trust are briefed here, and with maternal sanction compellably empanelled at quarter sessions under the 6 disqualifications for the uniformication of young persons, nodding neutrals, removal act by committalman number under 15, to know had the peers of generals who have been getting nose money cheap and stirring up the public opinion about private balls with their legs, Mrs. Martha and Mary, the 2 Dreepers' assistants, had they their service books in order and duly signed J.H. North and Company when discharged from their last situations? Will ye gup and tell the board in the interim how, in the name of the 3 tailors on Tooley Street, did Obidurumson and Macmahonahich X of butts and hocksets violating the bushel standard come into awful possession of the barrel of bellywash, and why is it any harm to ask, was this hackney man in the combe a paper sailor with a white luke to him, Fawkes Fitzorson, collected from Man of Isle, carrying his ark of egg-shaped fuselage and made in Fredborg in the Bojan, across his back when he might have been setting on his John ass inside like a glacier cabman? Where were the doughboys 3 by numbers, Juan and Zyle, Cave Hill, Esthers or Hearts of Steel, Hanson, Morford and O'Dyer, D.D., with their Glenagearies directing their steps according to the RUC's liaison officer, with their trench ulcers open and their hands in their pockets, contrary to military rules, when confronted with his life-size obstruction? When did he live off rooking the poro, and how did he start faffing his Patterson and helicots? Is it factual fact, proved up to the Scabbersteed Schilt, that this fancy-dressed Nordic in shaved lamb breeches, child's kilts, bibby buntings, and Wellingtons with club torque and headdresses, pre-holder of the Bar Ptolemy, is co-owner of a hangster circus near North Great Denmark Street? Incidentally, it's the most enjoyable show going in province, and I'm taking the youngsters there Saturday first when it's half-price naturals night to see the fallen sickeners up-aping the Buckley Backlers and the blind to 2 worlds taking off the deafy-down dummies. And the shame Shem Showman has been complaining to the police barracks and applying for an order of certiorari and crying out something vile about him being molested after him having triplets by offers of vacancies from females in this city, neighing after the man and his outstanding attraction ever since they seen his X-ray picture turned out in wealthy red in the Sabbath sheets. Was it him that suborned that Surge mutual son of his, a literary distributor in St. Patrick's lavatory, to turn a Roman and leave the chair in gout in his bare balbriggans, the sweep, and buy the usual jar of porter at the morgue in Crucis, and setting down before the wife with her fireman's helmet on her, bidding her mind the who's the strumpet, while him and his legging loaves were rampaging the roads in all their panoply, under the noses of Heliopolitan constabulary? Can you beat it? Prepare the way. Where's that gendarme auxiliar, aeronautic sapertillery, that reported on the whole hoodlum, relying on his Morser's wordy book and the truncheon up his tail? Roof Sekesine Vanderdeckle, and get her story from him. Recall Sickerson, the Lizzie boy, Sackerson, Magdalene of Eric, Sackerson, hook up. Day Circle 4, Van Float, see Verdens Market. High liquor made lusts torpid, though hunter her orchid. Hunter orchid? Gob, and he found it on her right enough, with her shoes upon his shoulders. 'Twas most trying to beholders, when he upped their fool tulipleats with our warning. A disgrace to the homely Protestant religion, blutty old pre-Adamite with his 2-handled umbrella. Trust me to spy on me own spew. Walpurgis, and it's this your deified city, Norgenson, and it's we's to pray for big messers' conversions. Call Kitty the Beads, the mandame of Tipnock Castle. Let succubus succumb, the improvable his wealth made possible. He's cooking Hagar the roast her prayer to him upon the top of the stairs. She's deep, that one. A farter noiser for his tuckish armenity. Our former who erred in having down to gibbous disdag our darling breed. And then the confissure for the boob's indulgence, as sanctioned for his salmon bog by the councillors on Trent. Pave panem at his gaiters bronze, number half dreads, log lafty, master's gun he wars the best. I messaged his diltoid saucepan their muscles on the kitchen table. With my ironing duck through his rolling pins and gansy fet to-do-do-dowdy-dow till he was blazing red in the toast face with the loving soft eye bulbs and his kittle drum steaming and rattling like the roasties in my mucker mill. I ought to have scorched his Abram's brack for him. For the loaf of Obadiah, take your pastry arch Noah's out of me flour bucket. Of the stranger seen you given squeezers to me skillet, as cream of the hearth thou reignest our home. His lapper in livers was glue gulawed, as he sizzled there watching me Lauteric's pitcher, by Wexford Atelier, as Catty and Lanner, the refined soubrette with my bust a la brooch and the pad bun under my matelot, showing my jiggety sleeves and all my new Toulon Toulouses. Whisk, there's me shims and here's me hams, and this is me jupettes. Gauss be the mater. Whisk, what's this? Whisk, and that? He never caught finer ballet me at Romeo Frulini's flea pantomime out of Griddle the Sink, or Shushies with her soles up, or La Saucerelli, the pussy boots, when I started so hob-mop ladle like highty-tighty to kick the time off the cluck luck quam cam pot panapam kick. Hair a whorehounds, shake up the fortner, fuddling fun for Fullikin's sake. All hot. Sponsor program and close down. That's enough, General, of finicking about Finnegan and fiddling with his faddles. A final ballot, Governor, to remove all doubt. By sylph and salamander and all the trolls and tritons, I mean to top her drive and to tip the tap of this at last. His thoughts that would be words, his livings that have been deeds, and will too by the holy child of Coo, prima patriarch of the arch-sea, if I have it first to down every mask in Transylvania from Territory's hole to Stutterer's corner, to find that yoke off his letter, this yokan his dahit, past the jousters of the king, the Covenor journal, and Ironarch's custos himself no less, the Meg of Megs, with a Carison old gang. Off with your Persians, search ye the Finn, the cinders under shriving sheet. Fa, fee, fi, fo, fum. Ho, croak, evildoer. Arise, Sir Ghostus. As long as you've lived, there'll be no other. Doff. Amsterdam, sir, to you, eternist sitters, hail. Here we are again. I am brought up under a camel act of dynasties long out of print. The first of Shittrick Shilkenbeard, or is it Alwal Macosp the third? But in Pontifex Massamust, I am known throughout the world, wherever my good Al-Englishus Anglic actions is spoken by Sal and Will from Augustanus to Ergasturus, as this is, whether in Farnham's Rath or Condra's Ridge or the meadows of Dalkin or Monkish Township. By saints and sinners, I alike, as a clean living man and as a matter of fact. By my half-wife, I think how our public at large appreciates it most highly from me that I am as clean living as could be, and that my game was a fair average since I perpetually kept my Ouija wicket up. On my vera wife, I never was nor can afford to be guilty of crim craig con of malfeasance trespass against parson with the person of a youthful girl friend, chirp dapples, acted by Miss Dash, and with any of my cousins in Kisselov, Slotsgarten, or Giglot's Hill, when I would touch to her dot and feel most greenly of her unripe ones, as it should prove most anise and far too bad, needless to say, to my reputation on Babel Malkit for daughters in trade, being lightly clad. Yet, as my acquainters do me the complacence of apprising me, I should her have arrested under my disguise of whippers through tombs and deempies. Lagman, Was she but tinkling of such a tink? And as a mere matter of fact, I tell of myself how I possess the ripest little'um's waifuki around the globe letters globes, globalets globes, upon which she was romping off with Floss Monday out of Haram's way around Skinner's Circus Alley, first with her consolation prize in my serial dreams of fair women, mannequins pass, with awards in figure and smile subsections, handicapped by 2 breasts in opera tops, a remarkable little endowment garment, fastened at various places. What spurt! I keenly love such, particularly while savouring of their flavours at their most perfect, best when served with heliotrope eyelips, as this is, where I do drench my jolly soul on the pure beauty of hers past. She is my best preserved whole wife, so well her as hereafter, in Evan's eye, with incompatibly the smallest shoe number outside Chinatons. They are jolly, dainty, speckin' truly. May we not recommend them? It was my proof piece from my prentice serving, and alas, our private chaplain of Lambeth and Dolkey, Bishop Legionary, an always sad-faced man, in his lute-string pew cape with tabernacle band, who has visited our various hard hearts and reigns by imposition of fingers, also Harrick's fum, in that upper room can speak loud to you some quite complimentary things about my clean charactering, even when detected in the dark, distressful, though such recital proved to me, as this is, when I introduced her Frankfurter's numberines why drive fear, to our 4-poster toonies shantrying under Castrucci Senior and De Mellos, those whapping old stairs, with sycamore euphonium and ether notation in our altogether cage house document on Goose na Green, that cabin teeny home sweetened through affection's hard pains. First Mercus, or so they sancade, do, oh, clearly, and Gregorio at front with Johannes far in back. Oh, Gleeglom, there's nom sweep plapes like there sweep no wergs. By whom? As my kirk finlaters, ye light the church round ye corner, and KK catechism and joineth in the belief, and, as you all know, of a child, dear humans, one of my life's ambitions of my young end from an early period while still in head to screw, intended for broad church, I, being fully alive to it, was parochially confirmed in Califat's bed by our bougie beloved curate author. Michael Engels is your man. Let Michael relay Sutton and tell you people here who have the phony habit, it was remarkable in his clear audience, as this is, as only our own Michael can, when reads her out at Soper Station, to bring ruptures to our roars, how I am amplify. Him Lancolin, Pim's ornery forn in half, Shaun Shempson Sewin, Homestalkin Steadin, Live Pumark Loy Hogs, one for tops noying, Big Butter Boost, sorry, thank you, that'll be all for today, call it off, God notch, very boily, and a muddy Christmas, Abracieres and New York customs, Kiao, tack, tick-tack, tick. A wind a buzz, a water falling. Poor cove is duplicator. It's the damp. Calm has entered. Big calm, announcer. It is most earnest truly a morsome entertainment. Coat's tooth. I will give tansel to it. I protest there is literally not 1 teaspoon spill of evidence at bottom lie to my babab, as you shall see, as this is. Keem and Nap sang of first pickings, and I can take off my the 39 articles of quoting here in Phoenix Park before those in heaven to provost myself by gramercy of justice. I mean very man and mortiman, stiff and staunch forever, and enter under the advices from Mrs. Norris, Messrs. Norris, Southby, Yates, and Weston, Incorporated, to their favoured client, into my preposterant caveat against the publication of libel by any Tim Tipsilone or Tom Towley of Caesar's Lane, a blow-eyed lane-joint wearing low-belt suit with knock-brecky knees and bull-fist rings round him and a false road axe hand. He is convessor to Saunter's Norse letters and the post office directory in his business. The best begrudged man in Belgradia who doth not be least to our behaviour. To my none such, that highest personage at moments holding down the throne, so to speak of beauty scouts in elegant pursuit of flowers, searchers for tabernacles in the celluloid arts, happen seen Sorains believed, the cad, he walked by North Strand with his Tom's towel in hand, snake eye, strangler of suffocated green parrots. I protested that he is, by my wipe half. He was leaving out of my double inns when he was all tippling over my singlet exits. So was cashioned on for his recent behaviour. Sherlock is lurking for him. All air belt spanners, get your air curt. Shame upon Private M. Shames on his fulsomeness. Shamus on his Atkinscom's Lulu lying soolin for an outcast mastiff littered in blood courish. Aristocrat till hanging tower, stuck a javelin through his advoutreed heart. Instantin, flap my Larry bird, dangle my high flower. Jiggity jig my Jack dandelion. Let me never see his wad fez again. And mine it was, barked old Von Honorig, so a son of Pharaohs, our spring like his gesture, imitate my cry, as hers now, so used then, when to outlot it fell on my poplar Sussex, my Saxon sanctuary, when by gate of hell, before his hostel the Woden man, I hastened to freehold it up to his mam of mamam, majuscules, his Magnus Magerstick, first city's least squays of this Nova Terra, our most noble when cross-bucked on his priceless charger. Ferdinand Alabaster, ye did not need light or till Norway, for you fand one or every doorway. With my albums, greetums through his hall of my promises, hands shaky, congrand you like them's excellency. Who saw the Jackery there, said hand gripper this abreast? Dos mackers ginger. Someone we was with us all fours. Adversarian, the spiking doible, first liar in Lond's End. Wolf, see you Scargore on that skeep's brow, and those Macy's sulken tarts. Man cigarette I air bluffet conservative. Shucks, such rat's house bugsness, so I cannot barely conceive of. Lowest basement in history, obscenest nonsense, knock saget, per peeler and paw. The broker hearten, shugan, whole affair is rotten muck swinish porky pig's draff. Enoch, is that you, Whitehead? Have you head noise now? Give us your me-spilt reception, will yous? Pass the fish for Christ's sake. Old Whitehouse, he is speaking again. Op Eustace Tobe, pity poor Whiteoath. Dear gone mummeries, go by. Tell the world I have lived through 1,000 hells. Pity, please, lady, for poor O.W. in this profundest snobbing I have caught. 39 years mine age, hair's whore, mummery failent, snowdrift to my elbow, deft as adder. I asked you, dear lady, to judge on my tree by our fruits. I gave you of the tree. I gave 2 smells, 3 eats, my free endies, my celebrary mates, my happy blossoms, my all-frauling fruits of my boom. Pity poor harvest childers everywhere with mudder. That was communicator of former colonel, a disincarnated spirit called Sebastian from the Rivera Ingenuero. He is not all here. May Fern speak shortly with messages from my dead ported. Let us cheer him up a little and make an appointment for a future date. Hello, communicate. How's the butts? Ever susceptic, ever sapistic. He does not believe in your psychos of the real absence, neither miracle wheat nor soul surgery of Peepy Quemby. He has had some indigestings, poor thing, for quite a little while, confused by his tonguer of bauble. Away with him, poor Felix Cullipert. Wring his mind, ye Staples bonds, in my old Rigerary's bally heart, and in my Crumlin, and in my arrondissements and stremis. Saxaluthery, bam, I deplore over him ruly, mon grief, oh home, gestern with nobilities, to die bronchitic in Asher house, so enjoying of old thick walls in hot white tufts height of our formed reflections, with stock of ice in all his prop, so Buckley hosered from the royal leg, and his puertos mugnum, he would puff out the dimful bock, and the how he would husband her that very carefully, his cigar de vain. He would redden her with his vestas, but 'tis not. With us his nephos and his neverals, messed, incensed, and befogged by him and his smoke thereof. But he shall have the glad stain of our sober beer best in Osterhaus wine tavern. Buen retiro. The boy's voice of still flautish, and his mouth still wears that soldier's scarlet, though the flaxen fluids are peppered with the salsadine. It is by cause of what he was ascended into his presence. He was ascended into his presence on account of, I wit it well, hence his depraised words. Some day I may tell of his second story. Mood, it looks like someone other bearing my burdens. I cannot let it. Cain's naught. Well, yeoman, I have bared my whole past, I flatter myself, on both sides. Give me even 2 months by lax law in second division, and my first broadcloth as business will be to protest, to recorder at things of all things, or court of skivanies, with marchants grey, ancient incredible, zero bubble baritone, Joan O'Wally determined cod or cucumber upright, my jurets, if it does not occur again. O Rhymus, har fagr, wild heart in homeland, Harrods be the noun. Mine kinder come, mine woe be won. There is nothing like Luther. Oh, she, in nasty men's in Glad's houses, they shad not peg out stones. The elephant's house is his castle. I am here to tell you, indeed to goodness, that all be I discountenanced bell persuasions in renunciation of pomps to heretofore, with a wax too held in hand, I am thought fruit to dope me of our Mrs. Prinks, and by virtue of those filtered awokeness presently like Brown embracing Christina Anya after the Irishers to convert me into a Celt. But first I must proxy baptize my old antinaughties, when, as Sigismund stolter forth, with Rab and Rob Roost for my auspicer, and Leecher Rutty for my life first, and Lorcan's pattern, Erin till victory, when I will westernize those poor sun-uppers, and out-Brighton their land's end. A man should stump up, and I will pay my pretty decent trade price for my glucose, Peebles, were it even as this is, the legal Eric for infelicitous conduct. Here in close place find my pocket and shore check. And as a matter of fact, I undertake to discontinue entirely all practices, and I deny whole swiping in toto at my own request. In all stoutness I have confermentated and confederated and agreed in times pre-bellic, when here were waiters for the trainsfolk, as it is now nuggently laid to me, with a friend from mine, Mr. Billups, Puliter, my quarter brother, who sometimes he is doing my locum for me on the grub stake, and whom I have clapped constituent, for so it was felt by me at goodbye coops, by a sucapiture, a mouthless nigress, Blanchet Brewster from Cherna Giamia, Blowlin via Brigstow, or to ill sell my fourth part in her, which although allowed of in Deuteronomy, as in several places of scripture copyright, and excluded books, they should quite rightly verband be, would seem excessively harrowing to my feelings for 2 punk Scotch, 1 pollard, and a crocker or 3 pipples on the bitch. Thou, Frick's flame, Odin sulphur, who strikest only on the married box, and quick me if so be I did corporate twice, milady's maid, inspector of her beavers, she is a womanly and sacred. Such were a frillock for my comic strip, Mons Meg's Monthly, comes out H. Finnegans Weck, to bray at by Clownsillies in Donkeybrook Fair. It would lack in mackin hodders and cockers arithmetic, the unpardonable preempting of all her yarn. My by Juno Moneta, if she, Irish, Marian, Teresian, has been disposed of for her consideration, I, Ledwich, Salvatorius, am tradefully uninterested. And if she is still further talk-slopping over her cocoa cantors, I, what McAngers, am strongly of opinion why I should not be. Improbable. I do not credit one word of it from such and such as Miss Traversers. Just feathers, non-entities, or to have octroyed to resold or borrowed by exchange same super milkart, means help. Best Brixton high yellow no outings, cent for cent on auction's bridge. 'Twere in Hannibal crudelty wert so tentament to their natkin lives and scataborgias we devour about in the mighty evil rooms of ancient Carthage. Utterly improperable, not for old Crusos or white soul of gold, a pipple on the panis, 2 claps on the cancel, or 3 pox Cassie knocked on the postern, not for 1 testy-ticky culprits coins, or for all accusing Kunzi house. So hemp me cash, I mean it. My herrings, the absurdity of it, I mean to say, her bare ideas, it is choo chucklesome, absurd bargain mum will call. One line with, We'll eat every day salmon like the boyne alive, the two cherry pickers with their Cartharignettes, Lizzie and Lissy Mycock from street flesh shambles, were they moon at all with Hesper moon, and either Coven Guardian, I would not know to contact such wretched young stays in my ways from Haddam, or any Swisterseas or heiresses of theirn, claiming by thorough or under them, house of their frewing fan into mine foyer. Her is one which rassembled to mine enormally. The man what shocked his shanks at County Carlo's, he is Duke Holian. Each heb go heerd up taking you our inner sense, but we send you meat sauce infants. Duke Holian odor, Evening James's smutstick river blot, but thee hard casted bear us pigsteins, a pan congan shootsman and shot and cough. Excellent. Eigen Duke Holian, I liked his Gotham cheek. Stutter Tob, what a shrubbery trick to play. I will put my oath head under my white pot for ransom of beeves, and I will stand me where I stood mine in all free and heat between Pelagios and little Christe, as by Roderick's our most monolith, after my both ears to ear and bree breeches, boy bubbles, and mine hatten, testify to my unclothed virtue by the long stone erection of our all first man here. I should tell you that honestly on my honour of a near wicked. I always think in a Wordsworth of that prime favourite continental poet, Dante Galty and shopkeeper A.G., whom the generality admires in this, that is, and that this is to come. Like my Palmer's past policy, I have had my best master's lessons, as the public he knows. And do you know, homesters, I honestly think, if I have failed lamentably by accident benefits through Shintold, spite-fired, perplegged and cram-krieged, I am doing my did's bits and have made of my prudentials good. I have been told I own stolamines or something of that sort in the sooth of Spanian. Ho, 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 ho! Have I said also how I abhor myself vastly, truth to tell, and do repent to my nether heart of sundry clothing? The amusing part is, I will say, hotel men, that since I over the deep drown or ath the cleath to seek again ere landing, shamed in mind, with 3 plunges of my rudder tail, yet not the battle advanced imperial standard by weapon right and platched mine residence, taking board and burgage under starry misty, and ran and operated my Brixto selection here at Dalstall, for mean straits mare with Everage Fimmel, in commune sockage among strange and enemy, among these plotlets in Poplin's town, allore Fort Dunlip, then on sea, whole of Serbonian bog, now city of magnificent distances, good walled about with talus and counterscarp and pale of palisades, upon marsh or sea within, with abattoir to bless, on yon slaughter day of clean tariffs, in that year which I have called Miriabellus, and overdrave these marking the sword of Wenceslas was mine, and mine the pushing stock of Albrecht the Bairn, under patronship of our good kings in turns, T.R.H. Urban first in Champagne, Cholly man in Hungary, the loved, and hangry the hathed. Here where my tenure of office and my toils of domestication first began, with weight of woman my scat and skull, but fluky of the raven as my sure piloter, famine with English sweat and epidemics, the 2-toothed dragon worms with all sorts serpents, has come politely seceded from the land league of many nations, and open and notorious naughty livers are found not on our rolls. This seat of our city, it is all sides pleasant, comfortable and wholesome. If you would traverse hills, they are not far off. If champaign land, it lieth of all parts. If you would be delighted with fresh water, the famous river, called of Ptolemy the Libnialabia, runneth fast by. If you will take the view of the sea, it is at hand. Give heed. Do drum colliger whatever you do. Visites drum colliger la belle. Be souk and size or race drum colliger. Vedi drumcolliger e poimunis. Things are not as they were. Let me briefly survey. Proclam a Shaun. Pete, pipitch. Ubi pop J piped. Ibi pep goes the whistle. Here Tyburn throttled. Massed murmurs march. Where the bus stops, there shop I. Here which ye see, ye rest. On me, your sleeping giant. Estote santo. From the hold of my captain altitude till the mortification, that's my fate. The end of aldest Moses is the beginning of all disorder. So the last of their hands ballast shall the first in our sheriffs be. New highs for all, Rei du Negro may be black and tan, but under them lintels are staying my hornymen, meet each his mancy magged. For peers and gints, quasars and galley-liars, frescletties from the say and stale heady gabblers, gangers and duddy wagoners, pullers off societies and pushers on Rothmere's homes, obeyance from the townsman spills felicity by the town. Our bourse and political comedy are in safe with good Jock Shepherd. Our lives are on shore when sorting with Jonathans, wild and great. Being so free, thank you, besters. Hattentats have mindered. Blow blaze devil bobs have gone from the mode, and hair trigger nicks are quite out of time now. Thuggeries are rear as Glover's mettins. Lepers lack ignorant show beneath suspicion like the bitter halves of Esculapoloids. In midday's mal sight let Milled discurve herself. Me lud in her Hyde Park seek minnie winnet. All is wildy bonums. Blow nose aerios, we luff to you. Firebugs, good blazes. Lubbers, kept your powdies drier. Seamen, we segn your skives and wives. 7 ills so barely as centripunts have I happed. 77s for circumference in captive are your hill prospect. Braid Blackford frock, the Calton, the Liberton, Craig and Lockhart, A. Costafino, Arthur sit. The chort of Nicholas within was my guide, and I raised a dome on the wherewithouts of Micken. By awful tors my well-worth building sprang sky, spearing spires, cloud cupoed campaniles. Further this, by fine ounce and imposts I got and grew, and by gross scruple gat I grown outreachiously. More age and less age were my mains for our Lord's tithing, and my drains for render and prender the doles and the tribute. I was merely out of my mint with all the precursors on my brain cap, till I was struck for myself and muched morely by token. To Sir Hare of gambled in ruddy money, to Madam of Pittymount I low use. Paybads foreigners moved in Huguenots against us, and I met them peps to paps, Bartholomew, Milrace, Mark on Fell, and Luke I arose Daniel in Leonden. Bullafests envied me, cork cutters gratched, at a bay I braved Brian Beroom to barrow him against the Lochlins, all her tokies shrieking, full of lags, luscry about. If that had our back of eyeball, they got damaged in front tooth. There's where revelries at Ridotto's. Here was rivalry in redoubt. I weg shipped Duke Wellinghoff to reshuckle Roy Shackleton. Wild halloo, wild halloo, wild halloo. Morning plain, under laws martial in Warsaw, did I though till Leeds plumbate. Ping on pang relieved me. I made praher feast upon a corporalis, and fast broke down in Niederthorpe. I let fair views on Slobodins, but ranked Rothguards round Rathminsters. I bathed and badened on mendicity, and I cured off the inoculated.
Who can tell their tale whom I filled ad libitum on the plain of Salisbury, with 3 hunkered peepers in twa and twas? For sleeking beauties I spinned their nightingales, to slumbrid beast I tummed the fair. Round the muskie moved the murmur, but muses weenard and ballowas zoomed. Tendroosis tunes like water parted fluted up from the West Enders, while from gorges in the east came the strife of orangutangs. All in my thick-filled escutaire often was through thorough fear, but in the meckling of my burg belvaros was the sight forbade. Tuberculosis, I rise spudfully from the Murphy plants, house Ginsonia and berries from the plethores of the Irish show. I heard my liberty lands making free through their coracums, my true blues Jerusaleming before Wellington's wall. I rich-mounted the Rainalag in my bathtub of round wood, and conveyed it with cheers and cables, roaring mighty shouts through my longer tubes of elm. Out of funness for the autozone, I carried them and curried them in my puts-em-down cars, in my calm-meandering hotels. I made sprouts spontaneously from filloop sobriety in the coop that's chained for noon inebriate. When they weaned weary of that bibbing, I made infusion more infused. Sour pasters of the Weingarth, obtemperate unto me. When you think me in my copy cuffs looking where, would you make a mock of me? As you pay in cabmen sheltered hot, the ites like you course the teas. Wherefore watch ye well, for while I uplooked the first of Janus's straight, I down saw the last of Christmas steps, syndic podestril and on the rates, I for indigent and intendente, in forum forster I demonstrated my folk fiendship, and me pupils felt my birk, when no worse than their bright. Suffragetta and conscientia were undecidedly attached to me, but the Moher Macrees and the anti-Parthenopes, my Schwalbe words with litted spongelettes, set their soaky pokies in botch bonds of fume. Fletcher Fleming's Elizabeth, how interquakeringly they rogated me, their golden one. I, inhesitant, made replique, mes mesdames, to leur sure responder, and who in hill said, don't you let fly fire till you see the whites of their bunkers' eyes. Mr. answers, bring 'em young, bring 'em young, bring 'em young. In my Bethel of Solomans I accouched the rodentides, and turnkeyed most insultantly over raped Lutetias in the loch. I gave backs of biscums to the Jacobeaters and pottage bakes to the exhausted. I delivered them with freakandesias by the constant droppings from my smalls instalments, while I tit-for-tailed up their days for them on my taper slate with my Shanders chalk. I jaunted on the jingle breath wrapped in neckcloth and sashes, and I beggared about the amny bushes like belly in the bowl. In the humanity of my heart, I sent out wooey woman to refresh the ball-wearied, and then, doubling megalopolitan politeness, my greatest of these charities, devalurized the base fellows for the curtailment of their lower man. With a slog to square leg, I sent my boundary to Botany Bay, and I ran up a score and 4 of me's while the Yanks were huckling the empire. I have been receiving ominous letters and widely signed petitions full of pieces of pottery about my monumentalness as a thingaballs, and I have been enchanting causeries to the fascist Huero boys, so that they are in calling on me for the song of a birch. the more secretly by built, the more openly palastered. A tent, couch here. I have becket my Vanderbilt hutch in sus mid-naught, and at morning rise was encompassed of mush roofs. Rest and be thankful, with license, thanks. I considered the lilies of the veldt, and unto Baucis did I disclose mine glory. And this, missy, my daughters, and these man, my son, from my fief of the villa of the Asmanorum to Thorsten's, rectes Thomas raid, and from Huggin Please to William Inglis's house, that man of laundries, in all their barony of Saltus, Banders and Fauburgers, Hallets and Zealots, strutting Ogs and swaggering Macs, the Darcy Jameses, the Drury Joneses, red maids and blue cots, in homage all in felony, all who have received tickets, fair home overcrowded, tidy but very little furniture, respectable. Whole family attends daily mass and is dead sick of bread and butter, sometime in the militia, mentally strained from reading work on German physics, shares closet with 8 other dwellings, more than respectable. Getting comfortable parish relief, wage earner freshly shaven from prison, highly respectable. Planning new departure in Mount Montgomery cycle finishing. Eldest son will not serve, but peruses big man up in the sky scraps. Anu panudun, lacking back way, quasi respectable. Pays ragman in bones for faded window curtains. Staircase continually lit up with guests, particularly respectable. House lost in dirt and blocked with refuse. Getting on like Rose Distillery on fire. Slovenly wife active with the jug, in business for himself. Has a 10th illegitimate coming, partly respectable. Following correspondence courses. Chucked work over row. Both cheeks kissed at levee by late Marquess of Zetland. Sharing closet which is profusely written over with 11 other subscribers, once respectable. Open halfway pungent of Baltic dishes, bangs kept woman's head against wall, thereby disturbing neighbors. Private chapel occupies return landing. Removal every other quarter day. Case 1 of peculiar hopelessness, most respectable. Night soil has to be removed through snoring household. Eccentric naval officer, not quite steady, enjoys weekly church warden and laugh while reading foreign pictorials on clump stump before door. Known as the trap. Widow rheumatic in chars, haunted, condemned and execrated, of dubious respectability. Tools too costly pledged or uninsured. Reformed philanthropist whenever feasible takes advantage of unfortunates against dilapidating ash pits. Serious student is eating his last dinners. Floor dangerous for unaccompanied old clergymen. Thoroughly respectable. Many uncut pious books in evidence. Nearest water tap 200 yards run away. Foul and bottled gooseberry frequently on table. Man has not had boots off for 12 months. Infant being taught to hammer flat piano, outwardly respectable. Sometimes hears from titled connection, 1 foot of dust between banister and cracked wall. Wife cleans stools, eminently respectable. Out of work and regular loafer, should be operated would she consent. Deplorable rent in roof. Claret cellar cobwebbed since the pontificate of Leo. Wears drill trousers and collects rare Buddhas. Underages, very treacly and verminous, have to be separated. Sits up with fever cases for 1 and 3 pence. Owns 2 terraces back to Brackbreeze. Respectable in every way. Harmless imbecile, supposingly weak-minded, a sausage every Sunday, has a staff of 8 servants, outlook marred by ne'er-do-wells using the laneway. Lie-abed sons go out with sisters immediately after dark. Has never seen the sea, travels always with her 11 trunks of clothing. Starving cat left in disgust, the pink of respectability. Resting after colonial service, labors at plant, the despair of his many benefactresses, calories exclusively from roundtrees and dumplings. 1 bar of sunlight does them all, January and half February. The vis-à-vis, animal diet. Live in 5-storied semi-detached, but rarely pay tradesmen. Went security for friend who absconded. Shares same closet with 14 similar cottages in an ill-famed lodging house, more respectable than some. Tea widow pension but held to purchase. Inherited silk hat from father-in-law. Head of domestic economy never mentioned. Query how they live. Reputed to procure. Last 4 occupants carried out. Mental companionship with mates only. Respectability unsuccessfully aimed at. Copious holes emitting mice. Decoration from Uganda chief in locked ivory casket. Grandmother has advanced alcoholic amblyopia. The terror of Goodmansfield. And respected and respectable as respectable can respectably be. Though their horrible omission were the horrors I could have expected, let them all come, they are my villains. With charlutaries I have tallaged them. Wherefore I will and firmly command, as I willed and firmly commanded, upon my royal word, and cause the great seal now to be affixed, that from the father of their fathers to their children's children, they do inhabit it, and hold it for me unencumbered, and my heirs, firmly and quietly, amply and honestly, and with all the liberties and free customs which the men of Tolbris, a city of Tolbris, have at Tolbris, in the country of their city, and through whole my land. Here too my vouchers, knife and snuff books, fee for farm, Enricus Rex. Struggling forlongs I have livramentoed, mills on mills of mancipels. Lo, I have looked upon my pumpideers in their essencies, and my drummers have tattled tall tales of me in the land. In morgan attics lit I hope, in several cellars loushed I bleak mealers. On my siege of my mighty I was parsyful of my subject, but in street walks that are darkest I debelled them superb. I deemed the drug tales in my pretty courts, and dumpster dusty feet in my hoosen clothes. At guys they were swathed, at folks slashed, the game for a Gomez, the loy for a Lynch. If I was magnanimous as steady lay-giver, I revolutionized by my ructions. The high and by-way seeds I scattered them. In my graven fields, sowage I gathered them. In Sheridan's circle my wits repose. In black pits of the pestered Lenfant he is dumbed. Hearts of oak, may ye not root in peace. Rechabites abstain, clayed sheets pine-shrouded, wake not, walk not, silento morgue. Quo Waranto has his greats, my Sullivan and puissant Lord V. King regards for me, and he has given to me my necknamish, Festeret, which is second fiddler to Noman. These be my gentilish in arms, at the crest two young frish, entwiled, flappant, devoiled of their habiliments, vested sable, with dewers argent. For the boss of Coleopter, pendant, party festwise, blazoned sinister, at the slough proper. In the lower field a turfs of lanciers, shaking unsheathed shafts, their arms crossed in saltire, embusked synoply. Motto, in letters portent, Heri cras evi hori. Idle were it, repassing from Ulster ground to the elder disposition, to inquire whether I, draggest asunder, would be forced generation of group marriage. Holio cryptogram of my Essenes, or carried of cloud from land of locust in owls o Gallyborn, I, huddled till Solman be the mass product of teamwork, 3 surtoots ripped up in each other's, 2 twin pretty coaxes lived as one, troubled in trine or doubled in 2,
For Abram nude be I, or Roberoid with the Fenians, of Fijian grafted ape on Murfish, surrounded by obscurity, by my virtus of creation and my boon of promise, by my natural born freeman's journeyman right, and by other churches in her light, in such a manner as me it so besitteth, most surely I pretend and reclaim to opt for simultaneous, till day bow break and show shadows flee. Thus be heck, verily, verily, time, place. What is your nom? Bun. Who gave you that nom? Pooh. Have you put in all your spare pennies? I'm listening. 3. Keep clear of the prawl pennies. 4. Mr. Televox, Mrs. Taubiestim, and invisible friends. I may mean to say, annoying part of it was, had faithful Fulvia, following the weaning courses of this world, turned her back on her ways to gone on up hills upon search of louvers, brunette men of Ireland, chief North Paw, and chief goes in Blackwater, and chief Brown Pool, and chief Night Cloud by the deeps, or again had Fluvia, amber witch she was, left her chivalry crocus bed at the bare suggestions of some prowling bywaymen from Moabit, who could have abused of her, the fox rogues, there might accrue advantage to ask where in pell-mell her deceivers sinned. Yet no, it was vastly otherwise, which I have heard it by mummy good's wife, as I, chiefly and most heartily ever, for Fulvia Fluvia, ill woman to the plusny born, ever did ensue till stead the things that pertained unto fairness. This whereon I am fond on, that which was loosed, even so, for I waged love on her, and spoiled her undines, and she wept, oh my lors, till we meet, ere we part, Toolalal, this time 100 years. But I was firm with her, and I did take the reach of my delights, my jealousy, e-mashked, bayashmacked, ear-swathed, snout-snooted, and did raft her flumming worthily, and did lead her overland the pace, from Laxleap up to Lift Slope, tiding down as poor Treve should, whimpering by Kevin's Creek and Hurdle's Ford and Gardiner's Maw, long Riviere side drive, embankment large to Ringsend Flot and Ferry, where she began to bump a little bit, my dart to throw. And there, my way by wave brink on strand of south, made mace to mast high, tail as cow howling, quail as high jakes, did I upraise my magicianer's punt pole, the trident sire, the triton stock, far ruler, and I bade those polyphysy boisterous seas to retire with themselves from us. Rookwards thou sea stammerer, and I abridged with dom fine Norsemanship, till I had done abate her maiden race, my bear sark bride, and knew her fleshly, when with all my body did I her worship, min brill upswide. Heaven he haw thundered, hey days he flung bliss for hers, and I cast my 10-span joys on her, arched overtopped, from bank of Caw to echo bank, by dint of strongbow, Galata, Galata, so streng we were in one, male stream in she-gulf. And to wring stress I thumbed her with yearn of Erin, and tradesman marked her leaf lang, mine for all and singular, ade, I gone, I'm organs, and for air of ides. Base your peak, you strike your flag. What screech of shippings, what low of damp bulls. From Liveland, hawks Ivios, from Letland, Skal wives, Skal vives,
with Empress of Asias and Queen Columbia from her paranymphs, and the singing sands for Hebrides music. Goose gaze anointed uns, canals can zoned, and me to she her shy blooms lifted. And I put a name and wedlock bolted her round, the witch to carry till her grave, my Durden dearly, Appia Lippia Pluvia Billa, whiles in her life ramstel and bin, I chained her chaste mate to grip fuming snugglers, her chambret I bestank so to spunish furiosos. I was her hawk-sized, her cleave unto, her everest. She was my Annie, my Laura lad, my piece of Ed, who cut her ribbons when not in my prows, who espoused that havenliness to beach Lord and Carides, when not I, free porter. In Trinity huts they met my dame, pick of their poke for me. When I foregather 'twas my sambad, if I far seeker itch my list. Had I not work it in my catgut with dogs' hunds crots to clean, and had I not gifted out of my cautoways Constantinoble's aim, and fortift by my right as man of capital, I did ungirdle her about my vermicelli vinaigrette, with all loving kindness as far as in man's might it may lay, and enfranchised her to liberties of fringes. And I gave unto my Lillian younger turkey thighs soft goods in hardware catalogue, passum, and ladder-proof hosiery lines, see Stockinger's raiment, coquette coifs, see Agnes's hats, and pennings worth of the best taste of nags of jets and silvered water roses, and gewgaws of my pretty novelties and wispy-waspy frocks of red ferns and laurelworths, transparencies such as women cattle bear, and peltries piled, the peak of pims and schleins and sparrows, lumens day, luminous luxuries on looks, la primavera, pera perine, or the rainbow surreir diver, and a crinoline Wideshire and patents for her trilobies, that know she might the tortors of the boots, and beads of wampum with toe toy and a mercury glaze of shard to minnow. For all daintiness by me and thee time, the Copenhagen hour. And I wound around my swanchen's neckplace a school of shells of moils marine to swing their say-sangs in her silence, and, upping her at King's Count, her aldrich cry a loss unheeding, what though exceeding bitter, I pierced her beak with order of the Dannebrog, Königs great, soleve, with mares, geese, cressets, on Leonards and Dumfries, and Madonna lanthorns between quintacasses and tal and kindles, spearhead singeing knickenbockers, and mutton light burners, dipping downs in black holes, the tapers of the topers of his bunting Paul at hoist. For days there was no night, for nights were days, and our folk had rest from black heathen, and the pagans from the prince of passes. What was trembling sod quaked no more, what were frozen loins were stirred and lived. Gone the septuor, dark, deadly, dismal, doleful, desolate, dreadful, desperate. No more the 12 mans, bloody, gloomy, hideous, fearful, furious, alarming, terrible, mournful, sorrowful, frightful, appalling. Peace, perfect peace, and I hung up at Yule my dwindling lunas, helped of kettle flash nose, for the super whore of my frigid one, Columba mea, Frimosa mea, in waste windy tarred straits, and Elgin's marble halls, lamping limp from black to block through all Ivania's vaulted empire, from anodes to cathodes, and from the topazolites of morn. Winkenflow fair, the Arklow's sapphire Siomen's lore, and Wexterford's hook and crook lights to the powders of High Kinsella. Haven't you seen my pures a-humming, the crown to my estuarine munipence? 3/1 of the sea I swept with the draftness and all enmities. I bottled 'em up in Bellumport. When I stabbed Maroon Jack in Maturin, I was a bad boy's bogey. But it was when I went on to Sankt Petersburg that they gave my devil his dues. What is Caesar can hack in the old world, a Sawyer may hew in the green. On the island of Breesil, the wealth of me perished, and I took my plough shore sadly, feeling pity for me sword. Where Bode O'Conee weds on Altamaher, the tawny sprawling beside that silver burn. I sate me and settled with the little crither of my hearth. Her intellects I charmed with, I call them utile thoughts. Her thirlhide I plumped with potatoes for Amiens peace and plenty. My biblis beetles shewed her triumphs of crafty guild pageantries. Loftest Adam doffed our couster clother, Khan an hour with court-toppled basket. Sire Noah Guinness, exposant of his bargeness, and Lord Joe Starr to hump the body of a camel. I screwed the emperor down with 9 pins Gaelic, with 6-penny halfpennies for his hanger-on. My worthies were bist and tryst from Joshua to Godfrey, but my processus prophetarum they would have plauded to perpetuation. Morrow, book to be sure, see press. He's not all bowman bully, but his members handily fooled him. Steving's grain for his Greek's collogium, the SS Paudrix in the harbour. And all these things I fed her, my carlin, my bare lean steer, upon spiceries for her garbage breath, italics of knobby lauch, and the rich morsel of the marrow bone, and shanes of garlics, and swine's pepper, and gothocrauts, and pinky delisks, primes of mashalas, and subtleties in jellywork. Come the feast of St. Pancras, and shortcake nutrients from Pass and Pinkster's pudding, bready and nuttled and potted flesh meats from store damp cooking, and the drugs of calf and jalupa, and shallots out of Ascalon, feeding her food convenient her for, to pass them into earth, and to my saffron-breathing mongoloid, the skinsig, I gave Bjorwick's pulver and olives oils, unguents of cuticure, for the swarthy Sir Charles' face on her, with hand-ewers and groin-scrubbers, and a carry-cam to tease her tussie out, the brown but comely, a mops's broom to doist her sate, and club moss and wolf's foot for her more moister wards, amazing efficiencies, and my shop-soiled doubling, when weeks of kindness kinly civicised, in our saloons esquario, with fine glass bow-bays, draped embrasures, and gilt-edged librariums, I did devise my tell-tale sports at even bread, to ring her withers limberly. White ears, slap bang, drapier cut dean, bray nap spinato, and ranter go round. We had our lewd mayors and our lairdy mayresses kowtowing and smooling full face on us out of their famous latenesses, famous latenesses, oil-clothed over for cohabitation and all pointed behind. Tam Lane the Cossack, Dirk Wettingstone, Pieter Stuyvesant, Outlaw O'Neill, Mrs. Currants, Mrs. Racing Fidges, Mrs. Dattery, and Mrs. Prunyquetch. In him we trust. Footwash and sex principles apply to overseer. Amos 5:6. She had dabbling time for exhibiting her grace of Alhambras and Dunsink, the blood and bloobs in her Vauxhalls, while I, dizzed and dazed by the lumpty-thumpty of our interlopings, Fell clock shore off my ballast, in our wind-tore palace, it vampered for Ellanders, we loved Sir God for the sleep and the ghosts. She chaffed her fusees at my Wiggins jewels, while she scalded her murmuries on my Snorris and Sagos. In Paycock's Fransal she domineered, lecking ices off the dormer panes, all admired her in chemises. On Rideau Road Duana dwells, you mark me well what you see. Let wealth where I, our Pantock creator, would theirs be tights for the gods. Little red redding hats, and cinder yellows, and tinsel and glitter, and bibs under hoods. I made no sense of many well-pressed champadours, and peddled freely in the scrub. I foredreamed for thee in more than full-maked. I prevented for thee in the haunts that joy-belled frail lighter leaves for sturdy traymen. Pelves ad ombre sumus, I said to the shiftless prostitute, let me be your fodder. And to roadies and prater brothers, ciao camarade, evangel of good tidings, omniscient of the healer's word, for the lost, loathsome, and whomsoever will, who in regimentation through liberal donation and coordination for organization of their installation and augmentation plus some annexation and amplification without precipitation towards the culmination and letification of what was formerly their utter privation, competence, cheerfulness, usefulness, and the meed shall, in their second Adams, all be made alive. My tow tug steered down Canal Grand, my lighters lay longside on Regalia water, and I built in herbs and roar for min Eskeld, my shiny brows under astrolabe from my observatory, an erd closet with Shaun ejector wherewithin to be squit in moist convenience from her Sabbath knees. When the open noise should still be, did I fix with mortarboard my universities, wholly rational and godlike, sophister agents, sorifister, life-sizers all. Was I not rosetted on 2 stelas of little Egypt? Had not I rock-cut readers, Heros, Gregos, and Democriticos, tricastellated, bimedalized, and by my 7-dialed changing charties, Hiberns, Nika, Elitzes, made not I to pass through 12 thread needles and Newgate and Vicus Veneris to coo in sight? My camels walk, colossa, no porte sublimer benared my gates. I polled ye many, but my fews were chosen. Voter, early voter, he was never too oft for old Sorum. Terminals for my staties were the greener of the Grease away, the Debwick weck, the Mif Grievous. And I wept up twim misters, the pro and the con, my stave kirks wove so norsely of peeled wands and attachatucci flood mud, now all loose brick and stone fest, freely masoned, arced for covenanters in Shinner's refuge, descent from above on us, Hagia Sophia of Australia. Our horizons have nave and absides, our aeonis, they stood vast vault, hams circuitize, Shemites retrace, horns hush, no barkies, hair around is it holied. All truant trolls made I come pull, all roubling gnomes I pushed, gow. Castles Redmond, Gandon, Dean, Shepherd, Smythe, Neville, Heaton, Stony, Foley, Farrow, Vnost, with Thornycroft and Hogan too. Sprids serve me, goblins guard, protect my tyreries, O tribes, O gentes. Keep the peace of my 4 great ways, O Theos infernals to boot salvation, arcane celestials to Swettenberg's well hell. My 7 winds I trailed to maze her, and ever a wind had saving closes, and all these closes flagged with the gust. Hoops for her, hats off for him, and ruffles through knee blows guarding. And that was why Blabus was raising his wall, and altering his Suzannes of the Nibors. And thirdly, for Ewigs, I did reform and restore for my smuggy piggy's knees, my sweet cool-act, my auburn coy-quailing one, her paddy palace on the cross-knoll, with mask o' bell, sixteen clash-closhant, duominus and muezzin attinties, to commend the fitful, doom a dim-dim, a doom a dim-dim, with the angel of the lauds to tell forth's glory, and add thereunto a shallow laver to slob out her hellfire, and posied windows for her aureole house, gospelly pumiliu, Christus pumilio, Zacbuts babazounded, Ulgums trararolled, and she sass her knack, chilly bom and 40 bonnets upon the altar stain. May all have mossy honours. Hoke, 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 hoke. And ho hail snafel, drear drizzle our sleet showers of blessing, where it froze in chaddocks at her swum in the vestry, with fair skin book and ruling rod, vain of my virgin page. Her chastener ever I did learn, my little Anne a country mouse, in alphabet or camel temper, from Alderburg to Tan and you, with Myro rattin at her dundrum. Ooh, year, and I did spread before my Livy, where Lord Street lows and ladies linger, and Camomile Pass cuts Primrose Rise, and Coney bends bounds Mowbray's Ryland round, but never a blid had bledded or blooded since long ago, when the whole blighty acre was blady well pessovared. My selvage mats of lech-worked lawn, my carpet gardens of Garden City, with chops, pyramids, and mausoleums, and beacon fires, and colossets, and penciled Tauruses for the bus pleaches of the summer emeries, my esplanades and statuesques and tempelogues, the Pardinel of Maynooth, Fra Teobaldo, Nielsen, Rare Admirable, Jean de Portolo, Connaught Greatcloak, Gulielmus Carlos, and the 8th Ediculus Passivocant, Glorietas in Excelsoriord, for Erk days and for folly days, till the compilaniums of calendarias, Gregoro Mayos, and Gypsy Juliens, as such are pleased of theirs to walk. And I planted for my own hot Lisbon lass a quick-set vineyard, and I fenced it about with huge Chesterfield elms, and Kentish hops, and rigs of barlow, and bowery nooks, and green-wished villas, and pampos animos, and I, necessitades inglesias, and ponds for aqueducts, a hawthorn dean, a fairy glen, the hollow wall, the dryer chase, Finnmark's how, again Licky Budmonth, and Gleanery garden of her phoenix, and hush, hush, I brood for my alpine pluribel, wig-warming wench, speak easy, my Granville Brano Dublin Lindub, the free, the fro, the frothy freshener pussyfoot, to split the spleen of her maw, and I laid down before the trotters to my Eblenites, my stony battered wagon ways, my Nord-South circulums, my East Moreland and West Landmore, running boulevards and sittingly parading, hersmen opslow, nuptialers get storting, whereon in mantrim of Truman like Yahoomen, expect till doct conductor summoneth him all farts to pay, welcoming in hand and hunking to this vone of Hosea, Cloudsdales, wide Araban streets, Rome Reich's rickyshaws with Hispain's king's trumpeteers, mad-ridden mustangs, buckarestive bronchos, poster shays and turning taxis, and taw tilburys and noddies, others gigging gaily, some sedated in sedans. My prick-upping gents, arrogere, my damsels soft-side saddled, covertly, and lorry-daw a perch behind, the mule and the hinny and the jennet and the mustard nag, and piebald shouties and skewbald ownies, step it lively, lift ye to the left and rink ye to the right, for her pleasure dure. And Sheila laughed, and her diddy did domino to the switcheries of the whip. Down with them, kick, play up, mataha, maraha, luaha, joahara hana hana.